Couldn't really tell, but the ground was sloped. So the 60 comes in, he starts rolling. Says, all right, I guess the brakes didn't work or whatever. Comes to a rear wheel hover. I got Duco on my left side and getting ready to make that bend and that final push out because we're stepping off. And boom. Oh, shit. He cranks power. We ended up falling out of a Helo.
Like falling out?
Oh, yeah, like falling out 30 feet.
Shit.
Oh, yeah, dude.
God damn, 30 feet?
Yeah, that's going to be my recollection. So from going off a 10 meter, from a 10 meter board, get my nod straight, check my magazine. There's no magazine in there. All right, we got to get a fresh one. As soon as we go like this hand doesn't want to work. But I can't use it in a classic sense because I don't have this left arm. So I basically tuck it underneath these arms and kind of just use my arms come underneath to feed him what I need. And I just basically got my rifle like this because this hand doesn't work. I said, all right, that's it. I'm gonna get shot in the face. Because it's just like everything they can go wrong could.
Welcome to Mic Drop, the podcast where relevancy is irrelevant and we don't give a shit about your feelings.
Ladies and gentlemen, as always, it's both an honor and a pleasure to welcome my next guest to the podcast. He has spent 29 years on active duty in the U.S. Army as a Special Forces guy. 13 combat deployments, which I'm going to just repeat that for those of you not paying attention yet. 13 fucking combat deployments. That's Desert Shield, Desert Storm, Iraq, and Afghanistan, which, with what's going on right now, I can't think of a better guest to have on. He is the owner of Hogg Tactical, the co-host of On the Range podcast. He's also the love child of John Wayne and Chuck Norris, and his last name is actually in reference to the leg that he's packing. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, Rick Hogg.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate you taking time and coming here for the interview. I know we're all busy, and you're certainly no exception. And to carve that time out to come sit down with me is very, very much appreciated. So thank you for coming.
Yeah. Thank you for reaching out, and thank you for your service.
Yeah. Well, shit. It's about 1/16 of the amount of time you've put in, probably, but
doesn't matter, man. All good.
I appreciate it.
I'd like to take a quick second to shout out and thank our sponsor for today's podcast, Origin Labs and Jocko Fuel. Jocko Fuel is a great product. He's got a ton of products actually within the Jocko Fuel line. The guests and I enjoy them on the show. And outside, I take a lot of the supplements. I've got some of the Origin Lab jeans, boots, gis, and it's just all around American industry. They do a fantastic job really re-revolutionizing American industry from start to finish. It's all American made, all American sourced. Everything start to finish is made right there in-house, and they really do a phenomenal job creating the products and fulfilling the whole ball of wax. They've been a huge supporter of the Mic Drop podcast for a while now, and I really can't thank Jocko Fuel and Origin Labs enough for the job that they do for us. And so thank you to you guys. I'd also like to talk about my brand of dog food that just came out. There's food, treats, a line of supplements. The supplements are hip and joint, digestive, skin and coat. The treats, there's salmon bites, beef bites, turkey bites, salmon skins. And then the food, we've got a chicken and sweet potato formula as well as a salmon and herring meal formula. All of these products I've come out with in the last 6 months after years of trying to find kind of the right blend and be uncompromising in the product quality of what I want, and was fortunate enough to work with a manufacturer that made everything exactly how I wanted it, tested it out and got it dialed into exactly how I want it, and now we've brought it to market and it's available to you guys. So MikeRitlandCo.com, it's the Fueled by Team Dog line of food, treats, and supplements. I encourage you to either check it out or choke yourself. What is the best national chain breakfast joint, in your opinion?
Waffle House.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. What do you get there?
What's it? It's either cheese and eggs or eggs and cheese. Simple scrambled egg, cheese on there. Yeah.
All right.
Then you got to get your hash browns covered in chunks.
And there's no shortage of them where you live.
Nope.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Dunkin' Donuts up north.
Yeah.
One in every corner.
Or what is it, Tom Horton? What's that up in fucking Canada, the coffee joint, same thing. Is it like even better than, say, IHOP?
Here's the thing is IHOP open at 3 in the morning.
I mean, here it is. I don't know about all places, but yeah. Waffle House is tough.
I mean, Waffle House is kind of a staple, right? It's almost, doesn't matter where you go, you're going to get the same consistency across the board.
That's true. Yeah, they do have an almost Chick-fil-A like consistency.
Yep, 100%.
Ideal vacation spot, other than Afghanistan this time of year.
Somewhere you got some water, nice weather, but not so super crazy hot. I mean, you got to think Hawaii's got some pretty good weather in place. Yeah. Caribbean, you got to sit there sometimes. You got some crazy weather rolls in. So,
is there a place that you've been that you would put in that category?
I'd definitely put Hawaii in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big Island or more Oahu?
I like Oahu.
Yeah. I'm the same way. Like most.
And more to the North Shore, not to cut you off, but more to the North Shore than really, because I mean, down at Waikiki, that's where all the tourists are going and everything else. So.
I kind of like the touristy shit. I don't know why. Yeah. But, most overrated firearm?
Glock.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. Why do you say that? Why do you feel that way?
Because everyone thinks that's the staple. They're not willing to open up their eyes and look at anything else.
Yeah. What would you put brand-wise that you prefer over Glock? Is there several? Or
I mean, there's a bunch of different firearms out there. So let's just look at it. What's the difference really between Glock 1 and or Gen 5 and Gen 1?
Yeah.
A couple little nuances, right? But nothing really, they're not changing things.
They're not full redesigns.
No. So when you look at the firearms industry, they kind of sit at a stagnant point. So you've got a couple companies that's out there doing some things. So for example, like with Archon Firearms, they don't use a classic Browning tilt barrel design. So they've got like an AF speed lock system that in essence, the barrel stays in line. It looks like a polymer frame gun, but it's actually a steel frame gun. So now you got the barrel to frame lockup, and you're reducing 1 point of potential malfunction with that Browning tilt barrel design. So there's no tilt to it. So I would just like to see the firearms industry do some different things. You know, Walther with their PDP. I mean, there's some people doing some things, but when you look at the Glock, it really hasn't gone anywhere. But everyone says that's the standard.
So I guess transversely, is there a most underrated firearm company out there, in your opinion?
I mean, probably a lot of people haven't heard of Archon. And I would just say, look at what Archon's doing.
Where are they out of?
So they're based out of Vegas. The guns are actually produced in Germany.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is it ARC or K?
C.
Archon.
Yeah. And here's a shameless plug. So you go to warhog.com and you can find info on there. So that's kind of the easiest way to direct people.
Nothing shameless at all.
Nothing.
What is your morning routine when you're in town?
When I'm in town, as soon as alarm goes off, eyes open, and
what time is that?
So it just kind of depends on what I've got going on the day. Obviously, need to come out here. That's a little earlier. So typically, I want to get my day. 6:30 is a good start time. But again, sometimes you've got events which drive you earlier. So, somewhere right around that time. For me, as soon as my eyes open, I say a prayer that, thank God that I'm alive. Hey, thank you for giving me this day, because I'm on the side of the earth. Ask him for some wisdom, guidance, and strength. Get me through the day, and then we start. Yeah. Usually it's brew up some coffee, and then unfortunately I got to go to the magic box, because you got to see, all right, let's get social caught up, get that launched out, so that's out of the way. See if we've got any emails we're behind, and then just start the day with whatever we got going on.
Yeah. Are you a workout first thing or eat anything first thing?
So if I've got something to do, I'll intermediate fast if it makes sense. So if I don't, I might be home, but I might be working, if you want to say, somewhere else. So yeah, I'll get some chow to get me going through the day. If not, I'll probably fast around lunch. So I kind of skip breakfast, just have some coffee, make sure I get water in me to start, because that's a key point. I want to get kind of everything hydrated back up. And then I'm a probably lunch to early afternoon workout person.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I have a real hard time working out first thing in the morning, just from like a joint mobility.
Yeah.
Feeling like it's productive and not counterproductive. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm right there with you. Good stuff. Eating wise, generally speaking, is there any like particular diet program that you follow or
Rick's diet program.
What does that consist of? Whatever the fuck I want.
Pretty much. I mean, I try to eat clean, but then you'll play with stuff. So if you look on my counter, you know, I've got a bucket of chia seeds and what's the other one? Flax seeds. You know, sprinkle that on some stuff. You know, does it help? Does it not? Meh. Yeah. You know, shake it out. But yeah. Try to eat as clean as I can.
Are you into like the low carb, high fat, or anything like that?
I care about getting protein intake. I'm not a big carbs person, so I don't. Will I eat bread? Sure. I'm not going to say I don't, but if I have my druthers. So for example, at lunch, did I get the potato or I get the broccoli? I want the broccoli.
Yeah, I got you.
So, but it doesn't mean I won't eat potato, if that makes sense.
Yeah. For me, I know a lot of it depends on how active I am. Like if I'm working out really hard or just working dogs real heavy, I'll take in a fair bit of carbs. But if I'm not, then I'll throttle them back. But where are you originally from?
Originally from New Hampshire.
And were you born there, raised there, grew up there, the whole thing? Tell me a little bit about that.
So really, when you look at the Northeast, kind of where I grew up, great place to grow up. You know, probably about 30 minutes from the water, a couple hours from the mountains, all 4 seasons. So you're getting that full spectrum of, if you want to say, airs to play with. Yeah. You got to think back then, it wasn't one of these where we're stuck on a phone all the time. You're actually going out, going places. Get up with your buddy, say, yep, hey, we're cutting school today, and we'll zip across the border over to Vermont and go do some skiing over there, whatever we're doing, But it was doing stuff active.
Yeah.
Nothing. People would go hunt in the morning. I mean, you would see guns in trucks in the parking lot, and shockingly, nobody got shot.
Yeah.
So.
One thing, you have kids, right?
I do.
If you caught your kids skipping school to go skiing, how would you handle that? Because I know the way I am with mine versus how I grew up, sometimes it's a little unfair.
Yeah, 100%. They would, Yeah,
they'd get their ass beat.
Yep.
Yeah, it's hard to argue. Did you have siblings?
Yeah, so I've got half brothers.
Half brothers.
Yep.
What was the dynamic like in your house in terms of, I know for me, like comparing what the dynamic in the household is now versus when I was growing up, whether it's politics, culture, just the normal routine, what have you. I am always curious, like how people grew up, how it was back then for you guys that way, like politically, sports-wise, what was important, going to church, family dinners, stuff like that.
See, kind of all that stuff was, right? And the thing is, I think what's lost is, even though I came from a divorced household, there was still that family nucleus, so how you still spending time with both parents, how you doing that stuff, but yep, you're still going to church, you're still doing sports. To me, I think a lot of it is by not having the access to information that people have today, especially having the phones right there, it forced you that, hey, you've got to go, I'm going to the library, I've got to research multiple different things. I've got to be responsible for time. So if I were to sit there and say, hey, Mike, we're meeting here at this time, if you're late, you're late. And oh, by the way, before you're 16 or know those 16-year-old people, you're pedaling your bike, to get to where you got to go. So I think people were fitter. Yeah. They had the responsibility because it's like, hey, you got to be home before the sun goes down. Okay, cool. The sun's coming down, or else I'm going to get a beating when I get home. Yeah. And
you didn't have the safety net of technology to bail you out.
No.
I'm right there with you. I miss. To me, the '80s were a fucking magical time in this country for a lot of reasons.
If we could go back there, only if, right?
Oh, I know it. Did you have any favorite action TV shows or movies back when you were a kid?
Oh, man. So Magnum P.I. is a top one. You got to love the A-Team and old Hannibal Lecter when a plan comes together.
Did that play a role in inspiring you to join the Army and do what you did?
No.
Really?
Yeah. So for me, it was, you got to look at my grandfather was a World War II vet. My dad's a Vietnam Marine Corps vet. So we'll play that in the context, right? So grandfather's in the Army, dad's in the Marine Corps. But really, I think, so somewhere in this process, whenever I saw probably John Wayne, the Green Berets, that was a big driving factor.
Yeah.
And then, when it was that time when you look at the 80s, so from the Special Forces side, you have to understand this Special Forces baby program, it's not a new concept. we had it back in the 80s because that was originally what I was going to do. So I knew Special Forces was what I wanted to do. The problem was, I think it was 87, Special Forces goes to a branch, so they're no longer doing the baby program. So when I enlisted, I wound up going, 11 series, Airborne contract, no bonus. And there you go.
Going back to kind of the TV shows, the inspiration, whatever, it's still one thing, kind of a common thread that I find with guys from our generation that end up serving in this capacity is that there's a huge driving, motivating force / factor that is derived from pop culture, A-Team, Rambo, fucking, you name it, John Wayne.
Yep.
That doesn't exist now.
No.
Like if you try to find current things that are being released, there's none of that. And it's like, to me, that concerns me a little bit in that, it's like the culture is shifting over to something where they're not putting any importance on, frankly, what young men, at least a sliver or a fraction, a percentage of young men in this country. I mean, the reality is that this country needs a portion of the population to be driven to do that type of stuff to continue our standard of life.
But I think on that, Mike, just to elaborate a little more, back then, I don't ever remember a per se political agenda behind it was entertainment, right? Now, you go back to Magnum PI, we're not going to fault them for being on the SEAL side. We'll let that slide, right? But you saw some sprinklings, and again, didn't realize it back then, but now, kind of that whole PTS type deal, so the scars of war, for lack of better terms. You saw that sprinkling in there that never really was addressed.
Yeah.
But there wasn't political messages or telling you how to think in there. It was just kind of telling a story.
Yeah.
It was entertainment.
And I would say very similarly with the news media back then, it was much more Walter Cronkite, like just here's what happened, not why I think it happened, not who's to blame for what happened, like
the facts.
Yeah, I mean now it's so fucking skewed that way that it's impossible to make any sense of it. It's fucking terrible. What sports did you play growing up?
So wrestling was my staple, and wrestling was the sport, unbeknownst to me, that I believe gave me the biggest success, during my Army career. So I did a little bit of soccer in there as well because that was my conditioning for wrestling season prior to. But when I went up, wrestled a little bit in junior high, you go to high school, show up day one, and it's all right, here we go. We're going to start learning moves and getting it on. It's like, nope, we're just conditioning.
Yeah.
So coach does this for like 2 or 3 weeks. And you're watching guys drop off. And you're like, when are we going to get to practicing? And I didn't know as a freshman, you're sitting there, he's running a mini selection program.
Yeah.
He's going, who's in it to win it?
Yeah.
So the sucker that says, man, I just got whipped yesterday and I'm going to show up today and go again. Yep. So however many was his magic number, I guess we got to that point or time.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like each sequential year it was easier. So it was just, it's going to suck there for a while, embrace it, cool, and just go about your business.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
2 things, I guess. What weight did you wrestle, and did you end up going to state any of the years that you were?
You're gonna make me struggle on these. 147 sticks out for something in there, and 171 sticks out in there for another. And
so
then,
like with a lot of kids, started out lighter and ended up heavier.
But see, here was the good thing with being bumped up, right? Because when I was I remember this for a fact, when I was at 171, I had the freedom to eat.
Yeah.
Versus, I'm the guy going, I'll eat whatever because we're good.
Yeah.
And here's, your buddies running around trash bags on them trying to suck weight out of them. So.
Chewing gum all fucking day, spitting it out. Yeah. That shit does concern me. I mean, at that age, especially doing that shit to your body, I think is detrimental. I know that they've come a long way with these like formulas that take into account body fat percentage and hydration levels and height and weight and all this other shit that basically gives you a range of where you're supposed to wrestle. But that's so hard on kids.
So I had a buddy of mine. He was it 103 or 109? What was the lightest?
I think it's at least here. It's actually I think it's 98.
Okay. Maybe it was one. Maybe it goes to 103. Whatever. He was the lightest weight class, all 4 years.
Oh wow!
All 4 years.
Holy shit! Was he like fucking 4'11"?
No, he was 5 and some change, but just
rail thin.
Yeah.
Wow. Man, that's fucking rough.
That can't be good for you either.
Yeah, no shit. All right, so in high school, at what point did you kind of make the decision or decide that you were going to join the military and do what you did?
Man, I knew early on. I'm going to say probably 12, 13-ish.
And at that point, you wanted to do Special Forces?
Yeah. Well, I knew I wanted to join the Army. At what point the Special Forces got injected, I don't quite remember.
Yeah.
But I know, talking to the recruiter around 16, because I couldn't actually do delayed entry till 17, I knew I was looking at Special Forces because that was an option.
Yeah.
Like I said, 17, sign up for delayed entry. The problem was that option had gone away, so that whole SF baby program was no longer.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, get you infantry airborne. Sounds like a good gig, and don't worry, you can work out all the rest once you get there.
Just volunteer as soon as you show up, and they'll let you leave. During so you're what, a sophomore, junior when you?
Yeah, I was a junior, so that had to be junior going into senior year.
Okay. During that time, I remember when I had a buddy that joined the Army. He was a year older than me, and the recruiters did like these kind of weekend prep, days out. They didn't do anything like that. Nope. Yeah. Did you do anything on your own other than wrestling and kind of working out to try to help prepare yourself for?
No, because I thought I was doing. Again, it's one of those you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And did I really grasp the concept of, if you want to say, walking with a rucksack? No.
Yeah.
But you're physically fit.
Yeah.
And I remember, if you want to fast forward a little bit, you go to basic and it's like, hey, you've got to do 13 push-ups or whatever it was to graduate. It wasn't even basic. It was just like the in-processing center,
Yeah.
Hey, do 13 push-ups. And you're like, really?
Yeah.
But I remember basic being not physically challenging.
Yeah. Well, fuck, try the Navy's basic. I mean, it was just more irritating than anything. But where did you go to basic?
Fort Benning.
Fort Benning. Yeah. Can you walk us through the kind of coming in and the first couple of years in what that was like for you?
Yeah. So do Fort Benning, Georgia, 1 station unit training. So that's pretty much where all the infantry are trained at. From there, go over to Airborne School. And then from there, wind up at 82nd Airborne Division, 1st Battalion, 505th Parachute Infantry Regiment, Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
Yeah.
This is an important fact. Fort Bragg, 88. We'll circle back to that later on.
Yeah.
But no, 82nd was, you got to think at that time, great place to grow up. There were 3 special forces groups. So you had 3rd, 5th, and 7th were all there. So a lot of SF floating around. I had my first squad leader probably gave me the best leadership advice. He's like, when you're looking at these leaders, he's like, look at the good, stick that in one pocket. Look at the bad, stick that in the other pocket. You always want to draw from the good, but remember the bad. And that was kind of one of those leadership staples, I guess, that stuck with me.
Yeah.
So you can look at whoever and go, yeah, that guy's a dirtbag, but don't be like him.
Yeah.
So get there in 88. Panama goes. My battalion didn't, or actually my brigade didn't. We were kind of hot about that one. We had done the train up, so at no other point, at least in that time, we had done a full brigade-size mass tack. Then from there, get on helicopters and fly to the mount site, so we didn't know what was going on. They were getting ready to cut us away for leave, and for some reason, I was back a couple days. I wasn't taking my leave right away for whatever reason, I don't remember. But word comes that, hey, they're getting ready to go to Panama. Try to run down the street and go, I can get me on a bird, come on. Yeah. But that was interesting because then you had kind of officers coming out of the woodwork, kicking AGs off of machine gun teams or whatever to try to get their mustard stain. So, jump forward from there, go to Desert Shield, Desert Storm.
What was that like, especially looking back on it now? I mean, I know while you're going through it, it probably had one kind of perception, and then now looking back, especially what's gone on the last 20 years, there's probably another. But can you walk us through what your mind was like at that point?
So again, as a young man, join the military, you're eager for combat. That's what you're there to do. So you think about it, the year prior, you miss Panama, so you got all your buddies with their CIBs and, the mustard stains. You're like, man, I want to get in there. I want to see what this thing's about. Prove yourself, whatever it is for that, specific individual. Specifically for Desert Shield, Desert Storm, I remember we were out in the field. It was like crappy conditions. It was August. Rains came in, had stuff everywhere. But then somebody came up with a paper that said, hey, Iraq just invaded Kuwait. We weren't thinking anything of it. And then shortly thereafter, they're recalling everybody back to get back to the barracks and start packing stuff up. It's like, all right, hey, here's the packing list. Make sure you got this. And then, I think a day or two later, mysteriously, the old chocolate chips show up.
Yeah.
Here's your two sets of uniform. It's like, all right, Then all of a sudden, I remember Colonel Nix kind of got the part of the 05 and part of the 04. So 505, 504, just the two of the infantry regiments there. Kind of gave us a big speech. Hey, the last time the 05 and 04 did something, I think was World War II going into Normandy or something like that. Of course, get everyone all fired up, and then you're trying to get on birds to fly over to Saudi Arabia. I was on a C-5. We had, I think, 6 Sheridan tanks. So the 82nd had the shorter Sheridan, shorter barrels, a little more. They were jumpable and more maneuverable. Had those down below, and we were sitting up top. And next thing you know, you leave Fort Bragg and land in Saudi Arabia, and it's like, all right, here you are. And
was there, both with you and kind of the collective group mentality, was there any of, because especially back then, like our involvement in the Middle East was pretty much non-existent militarily, other than having some bases in a few different strategic spots. Was there any like, why the fuck are we coming over here, or was it just like, fuck yeah, let's do this?
It was like a mixed bag because there was so much. There wasn't the information, so we knew Iraq had invaded Kuwait. What are we doing?
Like, why do we care?
Yeah, So from was I 20 years old?
Yeah.
Was I really abreast of political goings on? Hey, why are we here? What's our objectives? What are we doing? All right,
Was there mutterings within the group of that a little bit of like, why are we fucking coming here? Or
just didn't know. It was like the unknown. It's like because everything was the unknown. So we get over there. What are we really doing? I don't know. Don't eat your MREs.
I love it. What are we doing? Fuck, I don't know. We're just going over here.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of it. There was really no plan. But I remember, like, you couldn't eat your MREs because that's your go-to-war meal. What are we doing? So all these questions come up. We weren't there that long. I remember we moved up. So we were at a place called Camp All-American, which had to get changed to Champion, Maine, because I guess the name All-American offended people. So we were offending people back in the 90s.
And caring about it.
Yeah. So we changed the name of where we were at. We went up, I don't remember exactly where. I know we were by a desalinization plant, but this was our line in the sand. Pretty much said, hey, here's where we're going to set up our defenses. This is the road, I guess, coming from Kuwait into Saudi Arabia. And this is where we're going to fight at.
Yeah.
So kind of came up with a rough battle plan there.
Yeah. Do you remember ballpark what your loadout was going in there?
As far as what? Like ammo?
Yeah, I mean, just generally like what you were carrying. Like, you weren't rocking body armor, right?
No, so we had, I think they gave us the flak vests.
Yeah. Which don't stop anything that the enemy's going to shoot at you anyway. Just weighs you down a little more.
That's it. I think we had our, 210 rounds, 5.56, M16A2 battle rifle.
Fucking A.
Iron sights. Of course, you had your pro mask.
Did you guys have CBR gear and shit outside of?
I think they did, but I think it was one of those too, like, hey, wrap that stuff up so it doesn't get a pinhole or go bad, or
Yeah.
I think we got that. I remember we got, our auto injectors. I can't remember if we got the PB pills there or got them once we were over there. We had our 2 sets of chocolate chips, no fancy boots, still went with your regular jungle boots, your rucksack and your duffel bag.
Yeah.
So there's all your worldly possessions.
Yeah.
Have a good trip.
Yeah. So then going in, what walk us through like how that all transpired? What actually happened?
As far as just getting there, or actually going into
Like going into Kuwait and doing what you did.
So I actually went into Iraq and then going to Kuwait.
Oh no shit.
Yeah. So the 82nd. So when you're looking at combat operations, everything was kind of a chess game and a move. So we ended up, I think, if I recollect, and this is where, kind of for the viewers, listeners, two things. Biggest regret, not journaling and not taking enough pictures.
Yeah.
Because it would have been nice to go, oh yeah, this is what we did, this is what we did. But we went from Camp All-American, because that's what I'll call it, I think up to Riyadh. I think it was around January, if I remember right. And then we went from Riyadh up to the border of Saudi Arabia and Iraq. And that was kind of like the last staging point. We knew they said, hey, it's now gone from Desert Shield to Desert Storm. Air war kicked off. Try to shoot some Scuds over. I remember that. They got shot down. We thought it'd be funny to tell the new guys that the slit trenches were the Scud tents or Scud bunkers or whatever. Yeah.
Great.
So Joe's always done that. We still burnt our trash over there. So the burn pit, I had some guys I was talking to a little while ago talking about I'm on the burn pit registry. It's like, you don't know the burn pit registry. So that started years back.
I am curious, during the air campaign, could you see and hear that going on while you were at where you're at?
More when we got right up to the border, and yeah. So I remember specifically one night pulling fire guard or just watch a fleet of, I think it was either 3 or 5 B-52s fly over.
Oh, no shit.
They fly for about 20 minutes. They drop their ordnance. I don't know how far 20 minutes gets them, but you can feel that overpressure.
Wow.
So during that time, I'm thinking of the classic, arc like from Vietnam, and you're like, man, who's ever on that receiving end, they're getting smacked.
Yeah. I remember, I was in junior high when that was taking place, and I'll never forget the imagery coming out of, the ground scenes of night, granted it was pretty elementary or rudimentary night vision, but just seeing the fucking tracer fire and the planes fucking bombing the shit out of Iraq. It was amazing.
Yeah.
I guess I can't even imagine being on the ground while that's happening.
Yeah, so we didn't see a lot of that because we were on the far western end. So the 82nd's role was to make that sweep to the west with the French. Yeah. So we didn't see, any type of fire, any aircraft or anything like that. Yeah. We did when we were down in Riyadh. We did see, I can talk here. We did see Scuds come in, but that's about it from that end.
Any close calls, Scud-wise?
Not really. Nothing. Yeah. Nope.
And
like
so
watching a fireworks show in the sky, because I think the Patriots were all shooting them down.
Yeah. So how long were you in that capacity?
What's that? Just the waiting?
Yeah, just being where you were at right there. About how long were you in that spot?
I want to say a couple weeks at each jump. So we were at Camp All-American for the most time. Then as this thing starts to progress around that January timeframe, I'm thinking that's when we went, probably December. We probably jumped to Riyadh, kind of hung out there, and then from Riyadh went right up to the border as this thing's getting ready to, I guess, go to, I can't remember, Desert Storm had already kicked off because we were down in Riyadh when all that happened. I think we got up to the border, it was getting very close to actually the invasion, if you want to call it.
Yeah. At what point did they say, okay, that's it, we're done, fucking head back? How long were you there total? Ballpark.
I want to say about a month or so.
Yeah.
Because the thing was, they brought us in via choppers, kind of all assembled up there, again, really not knowing. We knew the Talil airfield was our objective, but you're shuttling all your forces in, kind of get everyone together, kind of go up there to Talil. Wasn't much going on there because them boys had been bombed a long time. Their will to fight wasn't, anything there. We secure the Talil airfield, and then they want us to go around and basically destroy whatever equipment. Yeah. So here's this sector, whatever it is, just try to make the best note of what it is, destroy it, and then, you know, kind of do that. So we were probably there maybe a month, I'm guessing.
Did you have any interactions with Iraqi soldiers deserting in droves the way that you saw some?
Not from the Talil airfield side, no. Yeah. I think there was only one time we had the white flag throw up. I mean.
Yeah. Any significant engagements?
No, there were just nothing.
Yeah, little tit for tat.
Yeah.
All right, so once you leave and come back home from there, what was it like after that, between then and the next time you deployed significantly?
So I count, if you want to say my next significant deployment would be going back to Iraq in 2005.
Yeah.
But kind of the interim in between, because I don't really, this is just Rick's, you know, could you say, you know, when I get to SF and my JSETs and stuff, I don't really consider those deployments.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Sure.
But when I came back, so you got to understand, Desert Storm about shut the Army down, for lack of better terms, as far as things going on stateside. Mm-hmm. Most people would go to a pre-ranger course prior to going to ranger school. I think the schoolhouse was still going, if I recollect correctly. So they asked, hey, once we came back from leave, does anyone want to go to ranger school with no pre-ranger? Like, sign this guy up. So no suffering before the suffering. I said, seems like a good plan. So yeah, went to ranger school, got that knocked out.
What did you think of it in terms of what you're expecting versus what it was?
You know, I remember walking away from that thing twofold. One, man, that truly sucked. But man, that was also awesome at the same token. Yeah. So it takes a person, and you look at so many different facets of yourself. Can you operate sleep deprived? Can you operate, you know, malnourished, dehydrated? And then what type of leadership, you know, are you making under all those conditions? So yeah, it was absolutely phenomenal. Yeah. And then one part of it is we were the last Dugway class.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So it's funny that over time it goes away. I don't know if Desert Storm had anything to do with it, but it's like Desert Phase was still going. So
yeah. No, that's good shit. All right, so you knocked that out, and then from there, and you know, kind of the subsequent. I mean, shit, it was almost 15 years between.
Yep.
What all did you do during that period?
Yeah, so then I go to S.F.A.R.T.A.E.T.C, so Special Forces Assessment and Selection.
Actually, sorry to interrupt. When you went to Ranger School, were you still at 82nd? Mm-hmm. So you get to go there, you come back, and then from there you are able to transfer over into to S.F.A.S, or were you still attached to 82nd even?
No, you still stay at 82nd. So you're still attached to your unit. Mm-hmm. So in essence, you're just temporary duty to the schoolhouse.
Even for Special Forces selection?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
and
because
if you don't make it, you go back?
You go back to whatever your unit is.
If you do make it, then do you go...
you want to open up that can of worms?
Yeah. Yeah. To me, it's... You know, the Army is
Sure.
Similarly confusing, you know, because the Navy, it's better now than it was, but it's like, you're just like, who the fuck came up with this? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm curious how that went.
Yeah, so back in the 90s, so I got done SFAS. I had a year wait, so I went back to the 82nd for a year before I could go to the Q course. That's when you get, if you want to say, your PCS move, or now you're going to report to the schoolhouse. So think about it, Mike. I'm at the 82nd for a year. They know I'm leaving. You're a ship jumper.
Are you kind of like Captain Big Nuts, though? You got your Ranger tab, you've been through SFAS, like, are you looked at like, this guy's the fucking real deal?
Yeah, I mean, because that's the big thing. People look up, you know, if you're in the 82nd, Ranger tab is a big deal. Yeah. And yeah, now you're going SF, 100%. And then you got people going, hey, man, how'd you do that? What do you, hey, man, go talk to this guy and he'll hook you up.
Yeah.
So.
Take this pill.
Yeah. It's magic. Yeah. No, but the problem was, so I go back to the 82nd, because technically that's still my parent unit. So for a year, but they know I'm leaving to go to the Q course. So the order of merit list, I know exactly where I sit at in the company, because there's this big black mark. Yeah. So you get no favorable action. You're looked at as a ship jumper. I was the only guy in my battalion. So in the 82nd, in order to go to jump master school, you had to do their pretest. And they'd give you this card. It was like good for 30 days. Hey, you knew your nomenclature and you could rig your rucksack. Like, hey, class is coming up. I got my card. I was the only guy in my battalion. They're like, nope, we're not sending you. I'm like, excuse me? Like, I'm not getting out of the Army. I'm still in the Army.
See, to me, that seems weird that they would consider you a ship jumper in that circumstance.
Yes.
I get it if you're like, oh, I'm going to go do fucking comms. But, like, you're taking it, to the next level tenfold. Like, why? That's weird.
No, because you're leaving the 82nd. Nope.
Yeah. That's just how they see it, no matter what. All right, so you get the shaft there for a year, basically, and then you finally go. What was that like once you finally went, and where did you go?
Yeah, so the Q course is done, or the qualification course for us, again, Fort Bragg.
Yeah.
So I just go from Fort Bragg to Fort Bragg. At the time, it was a 6-month. So for an 18 Bravo, who's a weapons sergeant, the Charlie, who's the engineer, and the communicator, who's the Echo, 6-month course. So 4 months doing your MOS, then you had your SUT or small unit tactics, and then Robin Sage is kind of the final deal.
Yeah.
They combined, so it was weird. It was dubbed phase 1, 2, 3, but you did basically MOS phase first, and then you went out to phase 13 out of Camp McCall, which is still in North Carolina. It's about probably an hour from main post Fort Bragg. That was the old World War II paratrooper training facility, but SF had taken over.
Yeah.
So you go out there to kind of do your final field type problem out there.
Yeah. So you successfully complete all that, and then which unit did you go to first?
7th group.
7th group.
Yeah.
And that's in Colorado?
Fort Bragg.
Fort Bragg. God damn, you can't get away from that place, and you're still there. Is it 10th groups in Colorado, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so checking in there, I guess, at this point you'd been in the military for a fair bit. What was kind of, again, your expectation of showing up versus the reality of doing so? Was there any disparity, or was it pretty what you expected?
Just a little. And the disparity was this. So I was so used to kind of seeing where group was at. So they had these nice new buildings, everything like that. What had happened was I went to 3rd Battalion, 7th Group, which was originally the entire battalion was down at Panama, but they had come back. So they didn't have any space at the current group area, so they stuck them in the old World War II buildings out by Pike Field, which turned out to be awesome. Huge team rooms. So basically we had 3 teams in the old World War II buildings. Basically had the upstairs had 2 teams that basically cut it in half, and then there was a team downstairs. We had cages and all our stuff for all our gear, but there was, go ahead.
Were they old and beat to shit buildings, or were they fairly well maintained?
So they were old and beat to shit buildings. However, you got some Green Beret, engineers there that's going to sit there and make things tidy and
church it up a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. So what year was that you checked in there?
94. Yeah.
So from 94 to 2001, any Kosovo involvement or anything significant in that block of time?
We were primarily going down to Central and South America. So we're doing our JSETs, working with different host nation there. So that was kind of our ins and outs as far as our deployments there.
Yeah. Were you doing any like legit counter-narc shit down there?
Hands got tied.
Yeah.
So mid 90s, there was kind of a kibosh of really doing things down there. It was just one of those deals that, hey, you can go train them, but, don't be out there looking for trouble, for lack of better terms. So you got to be careful how you navigate and stuff like that.
No Brazilian hookers or anything? Not to my knowledge.
I did go to Brazil.
Yeah.
Yeah, those guys are actually pretty cool to work with.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Was there any one spot down there in particular that stands out as being the most circus-like or total shit show over the rest?
Probably Costa Rica.
Really?
Yeah, because here's the thing, they don't have a military. They only have a police force.
Yeah.
And when we showed up down there, again, you're dealing with cops from all over. And again, you're dealing with the third world country. So I can remember we're administering a PT test to these guys, and my man's shoe, his tennis shoe just falls apart. He just keeps on huckabucking. So it's just, but we did, like in that case, we'd brought him down some old chocolate chip pants and put the little engineer tape on the side.
Yeah.
And I can remember their names, but you remember a roster number, and they thought that would, man, they're giving us clothes, man. We got this pair of pants. Like,
Yeah. Of all the places you went, does one country stand out as having the best women?
Best women, probably Brazil, because we were
Because of
right
the
there.
asses.
We were right there at Rio, and you got Copacabana and Ipanema.
Yeah. I've not been anywhere in South America, but I've seen enough shit on TV. All right, so from there, hands are tied, not really doing a whole lot. But did you feel like you were getting good experience, though,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
training-wise?
Yep.
Yeah.
Because you got to think, for us, we weren't using interpreters. It was all, you had to learn the language.
Are you fluent in Spanish?
I'm not.
Yeah. I mean, were you closer back then?
I was a lot better back then, but I haven't used it.
Yeah.
And it just kind of, can I use it when I need to? Sure.
Like
To a
you
cer-
could figure out where the bathroom is and ask
Oh,
for
easy.
directions and
Yeah,
shit
I
like
mean,
that.
yeah, we can get into that, but I'm not probably not going to watch the news and get into deep political conversations and understand that.
Was there, during your pipeline in SF training, was language a part of your pipeline?
I don't like the word pipeline because to me it wasn't, number one, that wasn't a word we used, but it was part of our training, but after we were qualified.
Okay.
So I don't know how they're doing it now. They've got, it's like they start stacking more and more and more.
Yeah.
So once you got qualified, yep, you knew what troop you're going to.
Yeah. And was it Spanish during
It was
that?
actually Portuguese because
Really?
I had, because again, you want to set yourself up for success.
Yeah.
Took the DLPT, got my Spanish rating. I said, well, you already speak Spanish, but you're going to 7th group. Set yourself up for success because that's where I wanted to go. They said, well, we got this Portuguese course going. Go learn Portuguese.
Yeah.
Which that's how I ended up getting to Brazil.
Yeah.
Because there was a Portuguese team per battalion.
Yeah. The difference between Spanish and Portuguese, from a white guy's perspective, is it huge? A lot of similarities?
It's dialect, right? So I think the easiest thing is, let's just use Hoist Gracie, for example. So Hoist is Brazilian. His name's Portuguese. When you look at it, everyone wants to say Royce. So it's just pronouncing the R's to an H. Yeah. So in Spanish, you've got your ropas, which is your clothes, or in Portuguese, roupas.
Yeah.
So it could, if you don't have the ear, you should be, you might miss something, but if you do, you should be able to catch it.
So it's not significant enough where like words mean totally different shit like Dutch and German. It's
Well, you got some idiomatic that you throw in there, then that's totally going to
Yeah.
throw you off. But it's fairly close.
close enough to where like if you speak Spanish, you can understand Portuguese and vice versa, you think?
So I wasn't the best at my Portuguese, but they could understand my Spanish better than,
Yeah.
So yeah. But to me, it was all about getting the ear.
Yeah, I gotcha. All right, so once that's, at that point, like, or what year was it where basically that wrapped up with 7th Group deploying to Central South America? Was it 9/11 that made that shift, or was it before then?
No, it was before, because what wound up happening late in the 90s, so we used to offer a course called Special Operations Training Course, and it was basically a 4-week marksmanship CQB course. But then we were also running S.F.A.R.T.A.E.T.C, and that was the 8-week
Can you say what that stands for?
S.F.A.R.T.A.E.T.C. The Special Forces Advanced Reconnaissance Target Analysis and Exploitation Course.
Okay, because I'll level you. I don't know what the fuck S.F.A.R.T.A.E.T.C means. I've heard it a million times.
It's about blah, blah, blah.
All right, so you go through that, and that was the shift?
Well, no, so there's a little, I'd gone through that before, but the shift was the schoolhouse could not keep up with the demand of the 4-week course. Okay. Because they wanted to produce the 8-week, which sent guys to the Sinks and Extremist Force, or the regional CT element that each group had. They make the determination that, hey, you guys are trainers, start training it in-house. So that's when the SFAWC, or the Special Forces Advanced Urban Combat Committees, started popping up on each group. I got selected to be kind of the initial start of that for 7th Group, and that really was probably one of the best things, because we were able to train our own guys in advanced urban combat. So we had, obviously the marksmanship, CQB, breaching, all the classic stuff that you would do. We took what SWIC kind of gave us as a rough model, expanded on it to make it better. We threw combatives in there because that wasn't part of it. We did some urban movement stuff. Just try to make the program the best we could. I personally believe it was that program because I believe we were done the entire group prior to 9/11. You got to think it was 5th group that went in to Afghanistan first. 7th group was second. And I think it was because once we got done the 3-week course, we went to a 4-week course teaching company operations. So it would only make sense that, hey, I've got an SF company that can function as an entity, send them.
That's interesting. I guess so. From that, then, do you feel that set Special Forces as an entire entity up better for being able to respond to 9/11, or the opposite?
Oh, 100%. It set them up better.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you got to think it solidified our tactics. So if you think about it, prior to 9/11, we were teaching theory. We think this is what works.
Yeah. Were you guys still using Vietnam tactics in some ways? I know we were.
As far as what?
I mean, fucking booby traps, patrolling. I mean, there was a lot of...
Yeah.
Not entirely, but there were plenty of bits and pieces. Because we had some guys that were Vietnam vets that were still on active duty,
Sure,
running some of the training courses.
And I mean, we did... So when you're looking at the jungle stuff, because obviously Central and South America, you get a lot of jungle, you are doing some stuff, Vietnam-esque there, right? But when it came to the CQB portion, we were pretty much in line to what we were doing, this day and age, with the exception of technology. The technology wasn't there like it is today.
Yeah.
And, the other part is, that crew from 7th Group that came back from Afghanistan, that's what set, Warhawk Tactical in motion. Because when they came back and said, hey, man, that stuff you taught me saved my life, boom. Okay. I'm like, yeah. I said, so a lot of people go, well, you started this tactical company because that's all you know. It's what I love to do, and it's what I knew back in 2002 that, yeah, we're going to go do that.
Yeah. So where were you when 9/11 hit?
I was on Fort Bragg.
Yeah. What was that like for
You?
you?
Initially it was like, how do you fly into a building, right? New York City. What everyone's thinking at first, what's this fluke? And then obviously the second one, that's when you're like, all right, something's going on. So again, you got to think back then, I mean, a lot of people didn't have access to their guns and ammo, probably more like they do today, right? Everything's locked up, you got to go to the ASP. But where we had the survival program, we're running courses. We've got our own field ASP, arms room, all that stuff. So access to that stuff was easier. So as Bragg starts locking down, we're kind of locking down armed the 7th Group, kind of 3rd Group USASOC area and trying to work out, all right, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And you just try to, maintain some type of security because it's like, where's it coming next?
Yeah. In terms of what was going through your mind and any discussions you had with teammates at that point, I know, I was at SEAL Team 3 and it was like, fuck, it's go time. Like, we were all, it was a pretty sobering couple of days. Was it similar that way with you guys?
Yeah. A lot of it was just trying to put the pieces together, right? Yeah. So initially it was how do you grab security? Because it's like, we're Fort Bragg. We're going to get hit. Yeah. So how do you maintain that? And then just trying to, assist the best you could, trying to get checkpoints set up, which of course now you start getting traffic jams of people trying to come in. But it's like, yeah, then the next part is when we going? Yeah. When we going to get some payback for this? Yeah. But then for us, here's the problem. When you look at Special Forces side, you're like, really? So 5th Group's going to get all the action, or at least that's what you're thinking, because we're, area orientated. So it's like, man, the fight's in their house, not really understanding how big this thing would get.
Yeah, that'd be 2 decades of sustained combat, which really has, Iraq and Afghanistan has completely revolutionized all of special operations military-wide, and it's so kind of one-dimensional that way, in that if we had to do a jungle campaign or an Arctic campaign or something like that, like we would be way fucking behind the power curve. Yeah. So is that what ended up happening then? Is you guys kind of sat there and watched 5th Group go? I know they went in first, but
Yeah.
So when was the first time that you left after that, or what were you doing in the meantime?
So from there, we have, again, the schoolhouse. So I'm in 7th Group. You have the Special Warfare Center and Training, or Special Warfare Training Center. I come down on orders to go there. It's like, really? Of all time you people pick, you want to send me to the schoolhouse now? Yeah, and they did. So was it 2002? You know, I'm like, this isn't happening. Yep. You can't be hiding behind the rucksack is what they tell you. So, yeah, I wind up doing 2 years there. So from 2002 to 2004, working out at Camp McCall, out at S.F.A.R.T.A.E.T.C. And I'm like, really? I'm doing this?
And how old are you, and what was your rank at that point?
E7, let's get my 32, 34.
Yeah. All right, so you finished those 2 years, biting your fingernails, being pissed off, and then from there you go back
operational 2004.
To 7th Group, or what was it like?
I go back to USASOC, but yes.
Yeah. So once you joined back up with that unit, where was your first deployment to?
To Iraq.
To Iraq?
Yeah.
What was that like, jumping in there? Because I'm assuming that, or let me take a step back. Was that the first time that unit had gone to Iraq?
No.
So you were jumping in with guys that had already been. Was there a little bit of like, what the fuck, like feeling, especially being a early 30s E7, jumping in with guys that probably 23, 24-year-olds with combat experience? There's no problem with that? Yeah.
No, because I mean, it's how you train, right? So you think about you kind of doing theory stuff before, it's come together, and now you're embracing, all right, hey, what's this new technology we have? Because you got to think, night vision kind of made some leaps and bounds during that process. Now you're using that, and you just pick up and go, all right, here we go. Here's kind of the TTPs that we've found out from actual, under fire, using this type of technology, and off you
go. So on that first deployment to Iraq, significant action, or?
Oh, yeah.
What anything stand out operationally that really kind of set the bar?
As far as?
In terms of like the big mish, like this is what I fucking signed up for, this is what we trained for, like almost think of it from like a movie standpoint of like, where everything kind of comes together and it's how it's depicted and what you thought it would or should be.
So 05 winds up being kind of a crappy year. Lose a lot of guys. So we start the year there. Was there things that stick out? Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff, right? But really at the end of 05, December 24th, we lose Joe Andres. And that was kind of, so whatever happened, that was like, at least for me, the big gut punch to go, and then you kind of go, all right. Because we'd gone there, to about April, slight break, went back. I think they cut us loose for a couple weeks, get some R&R, and then we're right back, and then Joe gets killed at the end of the year. Yeah. So what kind of all transpired, it all kind of went.
Is there a typical mission set that you guys were conducting during that deployment?
So you're just looking at whatever your targets are, obviously HVTs, are they foreign fighter facilitators, are they media guys, are they, financiers? Where do they fit in the network?
So most of what you're doing was direct assault type, or direct action type stuff?
Yep.
Any reconnaissance or anything like just all
I didn't know.
Door kicking, whipping ass? Yep. Could you put a number on how many operations you went on in that deployment?
I couldn't.
You say hundreds?
Oh yeah. Easy. Because that's one of those, Mike. It's a hard. Your number and my number might be different, right? Mm-hmm. So when you go operations, is it we went out the gate? Did I hit 5 targets? Did I hit 1 target? Yeah. Did I do a block party? Is there follow-ons? Everyone's got kind of different
Yeah.
Because some people go, hey, went out the gate, that's a 1.
Yeah.
But somebody goes, hey, I entered 5 structures, that's 5.
Yeah.
So
I guess we went out and actually did something where, you know, we accomplished our objective, and it was of a combative nature. You know, it sounds like you were going out most nights.
pretty much every night.
Yeah.
There were times that I remember, man, I just want to wash these nasty uniforms that are standing up on itself. Yeah.
Yeah, that's no shit. At that point, were you guys working with any Iraqis other than interpreters, even in the
All unilateral.
Any significant, other than the one that you spoke of, Joe? Did you take any heavies in your group in particular, other than that?
I mean, guys are getting busted up all the time, but he was the one. He's like my Achilles heel.
Yeah.
We lost. I remember, kind of started off 05, losing Mickey up in Mosul. So it's like you kicked off the year with a gut punch, you end the year with a gut punch.
On both of those operations, do you look back? Obviously, hindsight's 20/20. But were there any particulars of those operations that stand out as we fucked up and this is why it happened, or it was just
Unforeseen.
how things go?
Unforeseen. Yeah.
Would you mind detailing how both of those went down?
Mickey was his was a straight accident. So
Really?
he got hit by Stryker impacted the vehicle they were driving in. So up in Mosul during that early part, had their curfew, so Joes were just hauling the mail. And yeah, it was just one of those fluke deals. They were coming back from a target.
Blue on blue, basically.
In essence, yeah.
Wow, fuck. And then
No shots fired, just however much freaking Stryker weighs, smashing into a truck, yeah.
Throughout that entire deployment, did you get the feeling at the end of it that you guys did a lot of good work, made a big difference, and had a lot of success?
100%, because the elections went off.
Yeah.
Because you got to think the big driving factor, if you look at that time frame, how many VBIDs were going off?
Yeah.
Because we targeted those dudes.
Yeah.
So it's like that dropped, that allowed, at least in that piece, the elections to go off. And
Yeah. Were you hit at all in that deployment?
I walked away. If you want to say unscathed per se, but we'll address that later on.
Yeah. The operation where you guys lost Joe, can you walk us through that one?
It was just one of those that there were some unforeseen obstacles in the way. It was like a chain link fence that had some stuff weaved that we never saw. So when the birds were going in, thought you had easy access, but it wasn't. Now you're trying to clip and snip, and other teams got there quick, and just so happened, he rolled in there and got stitched up.
So small arms, enemy small
Yeah, it was
arms.
enemy small arms, yeah.
Do you remember the specifics of the operation of what you guys were trying to accomplish on that particular one?
I don't remember who the target was.
Were there anything that stood out, whether it was that deployment or really any of your deployments, that, like from a rules of engagement, how you guys were conducting yourself, just where it seemed like, like you were either hands tied or doing the wrong thing, or it just wasn't going the way that it was supposed to, or did it feel like, generally speaking, you guys were doing good work and everything was panning out?
Yeah, I think we were doing good work. Had good intel guys, Phoenix good intel, and just kind of, working what was the problem set they were trying to work, what network was, who we were trying to go after, how was all this stuff coming together, and I think the proof's in the pudding. 05. I don't know what the stats are. Yeah. I'm sure some VBIs went off, but that was one of the major concerns. Are the elections going to be able to go off without this city erupting all over? Yeah. And I think with that happening, I'd call that success.
Yeah. I am curious if you can share. I want to be sensitive to tactics, but when Joe was hit, did you guys continue the mission and do it successfully? How was that handled? I guess from
business as usual.
Can you walk us through that?
He winds up going hit, or he winds up getting hit. He's got to. You got to finish the fight because you still got active combatants you got to deal with. It wasn't a very big structure.
Do you remember how many there were? Ballpark?
I think low numbers, right? So I think it was only It's only 3 or 4 if I recollect correctly. Don't quote me on it, but I think that's what it was. You know, all those guys get engaged. They're all dead. And obviously you got to get him out, get him evac'd out. And I don't believe it was until we got back. We knew he was in bad shape. Didn't know how bad.
Yeah.
And then obviously you get back and, you know, bomb gets dropped on you.
Yeah. And that was at the very end of that deployment?
Yeah. Christmas Eve.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right, so you come home. What was the turnaround time like between that and the follow-on?
Probably 6 months.
Wow.
It's like a 3 and 6 type rotation.
Yeah.
So it's fairly quick.
So you're spending 3 months there.
3 months in country, about 6 months home. Yeah.
During that 6 months home, I mean, how significant or intensive was the training getting ready to go back over there? Was it balls to the wall or was it measured?
You got to have a balance, right? I mean, you're still training hard. There might be times, but you're training smart as well. So, hey, maybe we're going to sit there and run night stuff. All right, let's do it Thursday night. Keep you guys kind of late. Cool, clean up, pack your stuff. Taking Friday off. Yeah. You know, so it's that balancing act of you're still training hard, still giving guys time, but yeah, you're constantly after it, constantly going.
Yeah. Was all of the training pretty much that same type of training, or were you doing anything outside of that?
I mean, as far as like CQB and stuff, yeah, primarily CQB stuff. But you're still trying to increase your skill set, whatever that may be. So you got certain guys that need to work on certain things, whether it's you know, mobility stuff. You know, of course, you got your snipes. They're always going to be doing, you know, who's got the latest and greatest, and try to get best information. So you're always trying to get your craft better.
Yeah. What was the size of your group at that point?
As far as like the assault force going out?
Yeah.
20-ish type guys.
Yeah. All right, so 6 months goes by, you go back to Iraq. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What was that next? So that was in 06, right? Mm-hmm. Were you anywhere near the triangle at that point?
No, because we went, no, because we pushed out west in 05, and I think we rolled back to Baghdad. Pretty much, majority of my time's in Baghdad.
Yeah.
Yeah, throughout the years.
Doing all the same shit.
Yep.
How many deployments did you make to Iraq?
Man, why you put me on the spot here? Do higher math.
What years?
Large majority.
Yeah, most of them were.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from 05 to when was the last time you went there?
So the last time I went there was 16, but we'll cut those out of the equation.
Yeah.
I probably got, why you make me do higher math? 7, 8-ish, 9-ish,
yeah,
something.
And they were all 3 months long.
3 and 6.
Yeah. Pretty standard in terms of what you did and how they went. Yeah,
with the exception of 05. 05 was the oddball year. So pretty much I was there the entire year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that rotation nonstop, basically.
Well, there was a break.
Yeah.
So I basically do, I think, like the April, then we go back in June. A slight, if you want to say 2 week, hey, there's your R&R break, and then right back over for the rest.
Did you go all the way home for that?
Yep.
Yeah. What was that like?
Where else are you going to go?
I mean, fuck, I don't know. You know, I'm sure there's guys, I can tell you right now, team guys be going to fucking Thailand and Hawaii. I mean.
Yeah, it wasn't like you're cutting every one of that, you know, to the 4 winds.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, hey, get your back.
Yeah.
You know,
refresh and come back.
Yeah, refresh your batteries. Yeah. Go have your conjugal visit, and let's go.
Yeah. Was there an element, I know for me, like when I came back from Iraq, it was, that first few days was a fucking adjustment, you know, and to me, especially throwing 2 weeks in the middle of a combat deployment, was that there some tough elements to that of coming home for a short burst like that and not being paranoid or having a hard time? So, like, was there any of that? Just totally.
Because at least for us, the schedule we were running, it was almost like your clock never got knocked out of whack. So if you think about it, if it's daytime here, it's nighttime over there, you're working at night.
Yeah.
Your circadian rhythm just kind of seemed to roll with.
Yeah. But in terms of getting along with your wife or not being in an environment where you feel kind of paranoid or whatever? There's no problem with that.
I mean, you're always going to have conflicts with your, with your wife, right? It's just.
No, we fight no matter what.
Yeah, because I tell people, it's like, if you think about it, combat's easy. It's pretty clear cut. You got to come home. You got to deal with this. I got this problem to deal with, or the kids are doing this, or it's a lot more work. It's harder.
Yeah. How was it with the kids coming and going that way, going from combat environment to being dad? I'm curious. I guess, did you find yourself being overly hard on them, or was it the opposite?
I mean, I think I was a pretty middle ground. I didn't want them to run amok, but at the same token, you didn't want to be super hard on them where they're, upset with you, I guess. I can't remember what year it was, but one of the years, so like the kids were fairly young when all this is going on. So they don't really understand the consequence of combat. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden you go, my son comes home, one of the students there, their dad died. So now it becomes, are you going to make it? Are you going to die, Daddy? And you're like, yeah. So.
What did you say to him? Fuck no, I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of do the, we're good.
Yeah.
Running with the best guys, got the best stuff.
Yeah.
Dad'll be fine. Dad'll be fine. Yeah. So you're in essence, you're lying to them. I mean, that's what you're doing. Yeah. I mean, you live, when you're in there, when you're deploying that often, you live the life of lies.
Yeah.
Lie to my wife. What are you doing?
Nothing.
Yeah, I got an office job.
Yeah.
And then she hears, did you hear what he did the other night?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to protect them, right? So am I giving you the full truths? Nope.
Yeah.
Is that kind of one of my regrets with all that? Yeah.
But what's the alternative? Like, I guess looking back, how would you have done it different?
I don't know if there is an alternative, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't, do you tell them the truth and they're constantly worried? Yeah. Do you sit there and lie to them, but you're lying to them, but they kind of know what's up? Yeah. She knows I'm not, doing whatever, mundane job that I say I am. Yeah. She knows what's up.
Yeah.
But you're trying to we'll be good.
Yeah. All right, so you do a shit ton of deployments there. Were there any operations with any of those deployments, whether it was higher ups on the deck of cards or, big news stories that, people would have heard about back home that you guys were a part of?
I don't know if there were or weren't.
I guess any that stand out that for you was like, holy shit, it was kind of like pinnacle operations.
I mean, you're just out there, you're schwacking bad dudes, right? So in Rick's mind, you've got the guys that you're targeting, because if the fight's there, the fight's not going home. Out of, big pivotal things, right? Wasn't so much what dude you're going after. To me, it was kind of things you saw on the battlefield, things that shape you as a person, right? And really, this is where, I know we haven't even got into the dog stuff, but it's important because that initial look, that's when I saw the dogs in action. Mm-hmm. That's when you see that you got this little four-legged beast here. He's beating $1 million technology. He's telling you, hey, you guys need to go left. Technology's saying, go right. Come to find out, he's right, they're wrong. Yeah. So it starts putting things in a perspective where you're like, gotcha. Yeah.
What were some other things that shaped you that you saw in combat?
Dog was a big one. Just the way you watch the way you watch people work. Different leadership styles. Way people handle different problem sets, and it's just you watch this machine run, and you're like, yep. You just kind of see how people do business. And you're like, yep, I like that, like that, like that. Just run it from there.
Yeah. Any kind of exchanges or interactions with local Iraqis that stand out as being significant that you remember that shaped you or changed you? Nothing?
Like I said, we really didn't work with those guys.
I mean, like families, like if you're taking over a house to do Overwatch or something like that.
Yeah, I had some Some family tried to offer me sherbet one night.
Did you take it?
Nope.
Yeah, it's
Too
probably
bad.
fucking poisonous.
You know what? They seemed, as sincere because, again, it's a crazy dynamic situation over there, right? So you got these guys offering you sherbet on one hand, being sincere. They got some probably 10-year-old kid playing Nintendo. It's like, yeah, great, we're just cutting through your house because I need to get up here and kind of see what's going on. But then vice versa, you go into a Christian house, Christians are in there because they open schwacked. Because that's the part that people don't realize, right? I think it was 1.4 million Christians used to live in Iraq. But yeah, you'd hit a house. There's a picture of the Last Supper, a picture of Jesus or whatever. Okay. We targeted this place. Simple. Let me ask you a question. Who's that guy? Yeah, right. Where are they at? So you kind of see the both spectrums of it. But yeah, that's kind of the, when you're looking at hitting house, if you want to say that's the far spectrums, you got one grateful family pump, wanting to give you sherbet for, the freedoms they're enjoying. And then you got one that got schwacked for the religion they're worshiping.
Yeah. Looking back on it now, do you have a feeling or a perspective on going to Iraq, why we went, was it worth it, should we have done it, all of those types of things?
Going with the information I know, same thing with, President Bush when he made the decision, he went off of what his intel he was getting. I say, yeah, 100%. I believe it was. Because again, we were still fighting Al-Qaeda. The fight was there. They weren't, I believe they were too busy focused there. You had all your foreign fighters trying to go get their jihad on there. Mm-hmm. Was there any attacks on the U.S., post that?
Yeah.
Did that have an effect? I tell myself, yeah. Because I tell myself, I'd rather bring the fight to you than you bring the fight to me.
Yeah.
And that was kind of one of the things, the justification in my mind, why am I leaving my family? Why is my wife raising my kids?
Yeah. Did, I guess, did the thought or did the fact that the vacuum and the chaos that has ensued since muddy that feeling at all, or you still feel that way? Because for me, the fact that, while I would agree in that, there's a lot of bad shit going on over there, what I struggle with, or question maybe is a better word, is Saddam, as much of a motherfucker as that guy was, he still had that country under fucking control way better than it is now. What he didn't have is Iran meddling in the country and slaughtering fucking Americans with EFPs and things of that nature. And so to me, that's where I have a hard time saying, was it really better? And especially given what it is now and what Iran has been able to do subsequently is, to me, makes it harder to justify that.
It's a double-edged sword, right? So you got to have faith that the politicians, because that's who we work for, the politicians, you like to have faith that, hey, they're making the best decisions at the time. I'm going to say at the time, yeah, 100%. But I'm also a realist to go, yeah, those people understand violence. Yeah. Saddam inflicted violence on that country. He ran that country. Would ISIS have ever, came up when he was there? Nope. I mean, realist to say that. But at the same token, there's also that other part that goes, we brought the fight to them, or we kept them there.
Yeah.
So it's one of those.
Yeah, I guess for me, with Afghanistan, I think that makes perfect sense. We'll get into that here in a minute, especially with what's going on. But to me, with Iraq, I agree in that, like, at the time, I was there and before the initial push and during the initial push, and it was like, yeah, that makes sense. And based on what we thought we knew, and I would say the same, like, I think it made sense at the time. Where it makes a difficult or a more difficult case to argue, I think, is that, I don't know that there would have been any ramifications of not going in terms of attacks being launched from there on our homeland.
Yeah, and it's one of those. It's a hard one, right, Mike?
Yeah.
Because what was being told what wasn't. I mean, but when that, like you said, when that power vacuum went, you know, you get all that stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, I don't regret anything. I would do it all over again. The way that I rationalize it, and I think, at least for me, is the healthiest way to do it, is to say, because I get asked probably similarly to you all the time, like, is it worth it? Should we have done either place, what have you? Is that, you know, at the end of the day, you and I are just volunteers that are saying, you know what, I'm going to put myself in a position to serve my country in whatever capacity that my country collectively sees fit. And that's it. You know, and the rest of it kind of doesn't matter, you know, because, hey, we're rogering up to say, you know, we may have to give our life if that's what it takes, but we're rogering up to do that. And you know, our elected officials are going to determine what the best use for us is at that time based on what they know. And that's the best you can do, you know. And so beyond that, like I said, I don't think it really fucking matters because we need groups of people that are willing to do that to maintain our standard of living and just the societal element that is the United States for it to continue and for us to be able to try to provide the same opportunities and upbringings for our children and subsequent generations that we had. There has to be people that are willing to do that, you know. And I think it can be that simple. You know, it doesn't have to be necessarily justified from our standpoint. Now, on the politician side, yes, it does. I mean, because they're the ones making the decisions, putting volunteers like us in the places that they're putting us, and it is on them to justify it and to answer for it and to take accountability when they make those mistakes. I do have a problem with the lack of that seems to be going on, but. With all of those deployments that you did to Iraq, is there any operation that stands out as being the most chaotic or the most successful, the most enemies on target that you guys neutralized that you could just kind of walk us through quick?
There's so many, right? I mean, when you look at, if you want to say your battlefield success, at least in Rick's mind, it all kind of goes way to the wayside because of the guys we lost, at least in my mind, right? So it's like, cool, track umpteen dudes. You know, what about your buddies you don't have?
Yeah.
And like I said, Joe's my kind of, you know, hinge point with all that.
Were you the closest with him of all the guys that were lost?
I think so, and I think part of it has to do with, it's like the story I tell is not so much what happened on the battlefield, right? Because most people won't get it, nor can they replicate or duplicate it. I tell the story of Joe, the Baghdad Christmas cake thief. So again, he was killed in December on Christmas Eve, but he would steal Christmas cakes, those little Debbie Christmas cakes, right? That were packaged two to a package back then. Yeah. He would steal them from another guy. So they weren't even his. He was ripping them off for somebody else. He would only eat one. Yeah. And he would stick them somewhere in my kit. And here's the thing, where this story, where I like to share it and where it's so, if you want to say bittersweet, I caught him right before we were rolling out the door.
Sticking shit in it.
He was getting, because he would stick it in my bed, in my boot, in my kit. I don't know where I find these damn things, right? And sure enough, his hand's right there, rolling into my pillow there to stick it, you know. And I'm like, it's you. Yeah. He's like, what? It's like, it's freaking Baghdad Christmas cake thief.
Yeah. So nobody even knew it was him.
No.
Yeah, for a while.
No, but I don't think he was giving it. I think he was that was just unbeknownst our thing, right? Yeah. I don't know that anybody else
I gotcha.
Was getting.
He was just fucking with you on it.
Well, I think it was his way to clear his conscience, to be honest with you. Yeah. Because number one, he was a Browns fan. So you got to kind of, it's like, all right, man. But I think it was just, hey, man, grab one, leave one, whatever. Yeah. But yeah, that's the story I tell. And, you know, here's the thing. It's when guys, people that you really don't know, right? They'll send you a message on Instagram or something like that. And it's a picture of a Christmas cake. Hey, man, just want to let you know, thinking of Joe. It's like, boom, thank you.
That's cool.
Because that keeps his memory going.
Yeah. Oh, that's good shit. Even though it can't be replicated, I would love to hear, even if it's just one story that stands out in your mind from a combat scenario standpoint of something that you guys did to relate to the listener of that type of mission.
You know, probably there's one, and it wasn't so much So you call it the day of death, but it wasn't so much that there was a whole bunch of dudes being killed, either enemy or ours. It was just the heat. And again, don't normally work during the day. It's all right. You got to go hit some targets. We go out there. Wind up getting to a gunfight out there. And it wasn't really in an urban area. It's kind of rural area. Out there dealing with that, but we need a resupply. So they come in and kick us out some water and some ammo and stuff. Cool. Again, 130 degrees or whatever they got in hot temperatures out there, and your water's just sitting out there cooking, right? Cool. So you get that, kind of get that problem set fixed. But we have something else brewing. Let's go get our resupply, get rehydrated. You've got 130 degree plus water because it's been sitting out in the sun cooking, right? And it was just one of those that we went from there. Hey, just need you guys to move over here. And we're like, guys are at that brink of just going down. Hey, bring the helos in. We don't need to sneak and peek over there. Just roll us over there, right? It was just one of those that get done that one. Nothing really, much happened there. But you just get back. And guys are so, just that temperature, all that kit, and they were just pretty much passing out once they got back to the airfield because it was just so freaking hot. And it was one of those that you learned, okay, cool. We just kicked out water bottles, right? So in a little case there, granted, it might have had a little handle. Let's start freezing those things. So now if we do have to do that, we know it's hot. It's going to give us more longevity, at least give us something we can drink because you couldn't even drink the water.
Yeah.
So.
And this was, what part of Iraq was that?
Somewhere in I don't remember exactly where, somewhere in, could have been maybe out by Bakoua or who knows, somewhere in the outskirts of Baghdad. Yeah. But it was one of those two, I remember we brought in some A-10s because we had some dudes that were in the reeds and they were going to shoot some Willie P rockets. And you're thinking, cool, this ought to be cool to see. Wasn't very impressive because I don't know if they just didn't work in those reeds or whatever, but yeah. Of course, they make you move back for that because stuff's coming in danger close. And it's like, oh, crazy.
Were there any missions that you went on that you guys kind of got your ass handed to you, or where you had to fucking bag ass out of there and you kind of kicked over a hornet's nest you weren't expecting?
I mean, we kicked over a bunch of hornet's nests, but it was always I think it was the support assets you had that kind of pulled you out.
Yeah. Anyone in particular where, like, what was it, C-130s or fucking Apaches, or what was bailing you out?
AH-6s.
Yeah. Can you go into any detail on any of those?
The thing with those guys, here's the thing. It's kind of cheap because we kind of worked out a deal with those guys that let us kind of fly their stuff, see their stuff, kind of firsthand how stuff is going, so you got a better respect for what they're doing. Because you look at what they're doing and go, it doesn't look that hard. Well, you go ahead and get on the stick. So you try to, work the gun or rockets or something like that. It's like, now I see the difficulty that you guys are trying to deal with during all these chaotic situations. Yeah. So it's just, you build that mutual respect. They kind of know what you're doing. Now you have a better idea what they're doing. So when you're kind of asking them to do some things and they're pulling off the impossible, you're like, yeah, now I know why, because you guys are that good.
Are these TF-160 guys? Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, so you do a shit ton of deployments in Iraq. It's all, mostly DA type stuff. Mm-hmm. At what point did you go to Afghanistan the first time?
2011.
And what was that like? Especially the amount of experience that you had in Iraq contrasted to going
So
there.
you got to think by that point, I transitioned over to a handler. So.
Had you used dogs in Iraq at all?
Oh, yeah.
At what point? And so you weren't a handler in Iraq. It was just
no, but we had them.
Yeah. Do you remember what year you started using them?
I don't remember when. I don't know if they were there during the initial invasion or once things got set or at what point they came in. I couldn't tell you exactly.
Yeah. What's your first memory of dog on target? Where you're like, holy shit, this thing's a fucking beast.
Really, my first, so it's tied into that one I was talking about earlier. So the dog's telling us to go left, technology saying go right, and sure enough, the guy that scored off the bill, he went to the right.
When you say technology, like ISR? Or,
yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so I use technology because when I talk about dogs and I use technology, it doesn't matter what technology, right? So we got these super sniffers that'll sniff for explosives. Still can't beat a dog's nose, right? So it doesn't matter what technology, just kind of wrap it all into one there. But yeah, the dog's telling us, no, man, go this way. Nope, they're going to go this way. And
Did you trust the dog?
At the time, I didn't know.
I mean, as a unit, did you guys go left or did you go right?
No, we ended up going right.
Yeah.
Because again, you think somebody's got an eye on it. So we're like, all right, they've got to see what's up.
Yeah.
And sure enough, we start huckabucking to the right, and he's like, excuse me. It's like, yeah, you need to circle back, and because he was left and went over here. So, go ahead.
Did the dog end up getting him?
He did.
Yeah. Was that the first time you saw a dog actually go fuck somebody up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where did he get him?
I got him in the leg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get some good after action pictures of that?
I didn't. I don't know if the handler did.
Did you see it?
I did.
Yeah. It's fucking gnarly, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My man's leg was only about yay big.
Yeah. He probably broke his fucking
Oh,
femur.
I'm sure.
Yeah. In the circumstances of that deal, was it an instance where you guys hit a target, squirters went out, and now you're trying to find them?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So the dog tracks him down, grabs him. What happened after that?
Pretty much we were done because the building had been secured. Got the squirter. Pretty much packed everybody back up and flew back.
Did you guys do any of the interrogations like on a guy like that? Like, would you put him through the paces first before anybody else does? Or
I mean, you might do some battlefield questioning depending on. It all depends on who guys are and what you're going after, right?
Yeah.
So is there something that's going to potentially follow on to something else? So it's all kind of the intel package.
Yeah.
Going, hey, who is this guy? What is he doing? Is there something else he can go to, or is he a link to something else?
Yeah.
But as far as the regular interrogations, I mean, you got interrogators that do that stuff.
Yeah. Was that dog attached to you guys in particular, or was it kind of a one-off?
No, he was attached.
So from that point on, you were using them quite a bit?
Yeah.
Were there times where you didn't use them?
No.
No. Was it just the one dog that was attached to you guys?
Yeah.
Can you tell what his name was?
So I think that was Arcos, if I remember right.
Arcos?
Yeah.
Malinois
It
Shepherd?
was Maui. Yeah.
What other successes did he have during that deployment?
That's the biggest one. I mean, I know there was. There were some other things that went on, but I can't recollect all the details, to be honest with you. Because, man, that's one thing is my memory gets super shady and then things all kind of blend together, right? Because we ended up, him and Rocky, I know we had in 2005, and they both got killed that year.
Really? Yeah. What, how so?
I don't remember specifically for Arcos. For Rocky, it was, I believe in this one particular case, the guy was in like a little outcropping or something, gunfight had ensued, grenades had gone in. Hey, is everything kind of settled down? Think so. Dog goes in and he got killed that way.
Were you guys typically sending dogs interior most of the time, some of the time, rarely, or was it almost always busting out to a side flank, squirter control kind of stuff?
For the most part, I think they were all going in.
Yeah.
And then on occasions you might have, depending on what's up, you might have a squirter type one.
Yeah.
But that was all, those, here's the thing, I'm not gonna lie, Mike, those earlier years, do I really remember? I knew they were there, what they were all doing. It didn't really concern me. It did in some cases, it did in others, right?
It's not like you were paying laser focus.
Not early on, it's like, okay, but you're figuring out as you go. And it's as you progress through this thing that really you start seeing the value of other guys with the dogs, other things they're doing. Hey, you think you're going after 2, but there's really 3 because the third one was hiding. You would have never known because the dog picks it up. And you see like this repetitive cycle all the time. Mm-hmm. And each time it's always the dog going, hey man,
Yeah.
we just, pulled you out of a pinch, or we just did this.
Yeah. Were you a dog guy prior to being a handler? Like, did you grow up with dogs? Did you...
I grew up with dogs, yeah, but not, they're pets, right? So you don't really, cool, we'll go throw the ball, but you got some dogs that'll fetch and some dogs won't. It's like, yeah. But yeah, I mean, around dogs, but it wasn't to the scale when you see these guys.
Sure.
So it's kind of like, did you drive a hot rod?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I souped up my Nova,
Yeah.
Or you're driving the Lamborghini.
Yeah. Yeah, I got you.
So,
all right, so on that earlier deployment, you had dogs for all the after deployments from there as well. Mm-hmm. Did you lose any more dogs after that?
oh yeah,
Yeah. It sounds like most of them, or a lot of them.
a lot of them. Yeah, you had like ebbs and flows, right? So there seems to be peaks when, when dogs happen,
Yeah.
and then things kind of settle and pick back up, and some onesie twosies.
Yeah. Did you find yourself paying closer attention, being more interested in dogs as you got more, or at what point did you decide to become a handler, or did they voluntold you to do it?
I kind of got voluntold,
Yeah.
which was not really what I wanted to do.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But once you embraced it, that's the best job ever.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm still working with the same guys I worked with, but now I'm an independent agent.
Yeah.
I know all the boys. I know the playbook. I can position myself where it makes sense. Hey guys, we need to do this because of wind, or position dog, whatever need be.
Yeah.
And it's like, let's keep this thing going.
Of all of the deployments that you went on where there were dogs prior to you becoming a handler, were there any other instances where there were just huge successes that the dogs totally saved your ass that you can share?
They're all, it's the common theme, right? And it typically has to do with the guys we can't see. So really in the squirters are a big one, where you think you're hunting 1, 2, 3, whatever it may be. And then next he picks up this one would have you dead to rights. But 9 times out of 10, they just can't see where you're at. Yeah. And then boom, they're on them, and it's like, cool, thanks for that.
Yeah. In most of those cases, were you sending the dogs in when they came into odor and gave you that change in behavior, or were you just using that as a holy fuck, let's focus on that?
So you had a general idea where they're going, right? And then again, you're not being a dog guy or fully understanding, knowing the tactics we're doing, but not understanding like all the whys. Like, did I really understand why were we getting downwind? Nope. Yeah. I just knew, hey, we got to get downwind, right? So you let the dog work his piece, and it's like all of a sudden, so could I see the dogs change their behavior? Not back then. Yeah. I didn't know what I was really looking for. Yep. There goes the dog. Okay, cool. Yeah. Boom, and next thing you know, he's on somebody. Cool. Yeah. Didn't see that one coming. Yeah.
Any other good bite stories from Iraq?
I can't really think. Here's the thing, I didn't really pay. It wasn't until you're a handler that you care about, that really it matters, right? Because it's like, there's dad, here's son. Yeah, buddy. You stuck the boots to him. Nice one, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so what was the circumstance where they said you're going to be a handler now, and did you fight it?
I didn't.
Yeah, you're just like, whatever.
Yeah, it's all right.
Was there a reason they gave you, or was it just, hey, we need a dude and you're the guy?
So concept being, hey, it would just help you along your leadership route. I said, all right, you'll have his team and run these guys and do this. It's like, all right, we'll give it a shake and see what happens.
Yeah. So first deployment to Afghanistan, you're a dog handler.
Mm-hmm. I am.
Tell me how that went.
It went, no super, complaints. I had Marco, who was my first dog. He was a Mali, super edgy dog, but he was a great battlefield dog. But it's kind of like first time handler, you're kind of working yourself into it. You kind of know what to do. I mean, we've trained stuff, but now you're actually employing, working, going, all right, hey, I see this thing come together. Here's the thing. You've got some people that, let's just say, are practical jokers. So you might sit there, clear a compound or something. Somebody finds a ball type deal and thinks it's funny to chuck it by the dog. So he sits there and, goes and chase after. It's like, what are you guys doing, man?
Yeah.
But no, it's just, it's learning how to better your craft with him, how to employ him. How to understand that, hey, as you get military age males out, you need to kind of separate yourself so that he's not going, hey, there's the easy win there, and I don't need to work as hard in there. So just setting yourself up for success on that one.
Yeah. Where did you guys go on that deployment?
Mainly up TF North.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was it a similar type of mission set in Afghanistan that you were doing in Iraq? Or
Yeah. Still doing HVTs, except this time where the challenge comes in is versus being solely unilateral, you've got some Afghanis rolling with you.
Yeah. Was the terrain pretty rough there too?
Yeah.
In terms of you handling Marco, you said it was?
Yeah.
How many successes did you have with him on that first deployment?
I mean, we had quite a few. Bunch of bites in there. We had actually post-assault detection fines. So we did.
From a route clearance standpoint, was he pretty effective at finding caches?
We really didn't do route clearance because we were pretty much flying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it was all like quick fucking in and out.
Yeah, I get there, once the assault's done, then we'll swap them over from assault mode over to his detection.
Yeah. Did you struggle with that at all?
Really didn't. Yeah. No. Once you I think there's a niche to it, right? And it's all about kind of the routine you set up with them. And I think if you set that routine up back home, but then we get a lot of times want to go down the road of always rewarding, right? So if we're going to do a detection problem, he's going to find odor, right? Nope. So you start plugging blanks in there, and we seem to have better success getting that transitional process to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so much of it depends on the dog's drives and the context with which you're imprinting that. But I know. Fuck, with some of them, it's like once that light switch is on, it's almost impossible to turn it off. The other thing I know a lot of times people worry about is if you're not rewarding, the same way that you would proof a dog off of something is not rewarding him, and they worry about stifling certain drives that way. But I do truly believe if it's the right dog, it doesn't matter.
No.
But
you're not going to stifle him.
Yeah, but. In terms of some of the bites, can you share any of the bites from Marco when you were his handler?
So, I don't know. I can't recollect for him if we had anything inside. I think everything was exterior, if I recollect correctly.
On that first deployment?
Yeah. And again, everything kind of blends together, right? So trying to pick out which dog was it, which target. Was it my dog? Was it somebody else's? Was it, I think for him, his was only exterior, if I recollect correctly.
Were they all, somebody's fucking running and he chases them?
Typically that, or somewhere out in vicinity thereof. So, hey, I'm going to go hidey hole over here or something like that. And again, it's the classic, hey, we didn't know you were there.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, boom, see that change of behavior and he's freaking.
Did he, in terms, if you were to compare him to any of the other dogs that you were around and or handled, how would you rate him in bite work comparatively?
I would probably give him maybe an 8-ish.
So above average mouth?
Yeah, he was above average. Yeah, he was a great, I use the word edgy as kind of my word for him. Great battlefield dog, right? But he probably wouldn't have been the right dog if I were to retire him and bring him home.
Yeah. So he's even better on the battlefield.
Oh, dude, 100%, yeah.
Did he legit fuck people up pretty bad?
Yeah.
Like, what was the worst one you saw?
I think old boy had a femur break.
Yeah.
I believe.
Was that so? Not the one, the original one you're talking about, and just somebody else.
Yeah, it was another one.
The skinny dude.
He was. So I'm looking at dude size as far as not super skinny, but wasn't a super, because the Afghanis are kind of heavier set people, right? For whatever reason, when you compare them to Iraqis, at least to me, they seem whether it's them humping the mountains or whatever. This guy just didn't seem to have his Afghani legs, if you want to say.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Did that put him in shock? Like, did he pass out?
He was hooping and hollering pretty good. Yeah. I don't know, because again, at a certain point, all right, cool, done your thing. You've done your job. You get him off, the boys have him, and then Doc's going to do whatever, and then, you know.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
It's kind of, because again, if I'm trying to sit there, hey, what's going on in there? Man, now he's just, you know, going crazy. And then typically you've got to go transition over and do something else.
Yeah. Did you ever have any issues with him biting people he wasn't supposed to?
Except for me.
Just you?
He tested me one day.
Yeah. What happened there?
He saw Jesus. And he came back to me. He saw Jesus.
Yeah, he came
back to me again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what were the circumstances that led up to him challenging?
It was back in the rear, nothing really going on. And I think it was after we got back from that trip. And it wasn't like he was under pressure or anything like that. And he just wanted to test the water.
Yeah.
And maybe he thought that, hey, his nuts dropped and he was the man. And, hey, Dad, I'm not going to listen to you. And, okay.
Yeah.
I can remember my buddies going, you're killing your dog. Yep, I know. Ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. You see me? Yep. Ba-boom, ba-boom. Yeah.
Was there, how many deployments did you do with that dog?
Just one. Because I ended up losing him.
What happened?
We had to put him down.
Oh, no shit. So it wasn't an in-combat kind of thing? Was it?
Who knows what ailment, rubbish, you know.
So he just got really sick?
Yeah.
Oh, no shit. Over there?
He seemed to be fine, kind of coming back. I don't know, did he get something there? Was it something genetic in there? I don't know what the driving factor was.
So taking him in, they couldn't determine what was wrong with him?
He had some, he had some crap that was breaking him down, so it was just like,
how many dogs did you guys have within 7th Group?
So by that time, I transitioned over to use the SOC, so we had a bunch of dogs.
Yeah.
So
now I know what you mean. All right. So at that point, you pick up another dog.
Yeah. So I picked up Duco at that point.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I didn't want Duco.
Yeah.
I said, because he was a Dutch Shepherd. I said, I want a Mally.
Yeah.
You know, he was our float dog. And it's like, dude, where's my Mally? I want my Mally back.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. When did I get him? I think May-ish time frame. And we were over to Afghanistan in maybe July, August time frame. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, in short turnaround, that dog was the absolute best choice I could have done, right? Very social dog, so he had no problems being around the boys. He was one of those, just like you started seeing, I know you're going to be the dog I'm going to retire. Not that the guys didn't like Marco, but he was just, you could just tell he was that edgier type.
Yeah.
You know, Duco.
More reactive.
Yeah. You know, Duco, they sit there and steal my dog one night. I'm like, what are you savages? Oh, yeah, dude. What are you savages doing?
Yeah.
So, send him in, doing his business, trying to recall him back to me. Where the hell's my dog? Look on the monitor. He's got multi-cam pants. Like, who's got the dog? Oh, we do. We're going over here. How about a little courtesy?
Yeah.
So
he was all about business. Like he'd work for anybody. Push.
Oh, he would. Yeah. I mean, not that they knew what they were doing with him, but it was just that. I mean, that's how much of a bond was there. How much the boys, respected these guys and
Well,
there.
I mean, to me, one of the things I've noticed with over the years, a lot of different dogs is that there's some dogs, and not a lot of them. I mean, they're all good dogs. They're all very cognitive and operant and smart and easy to train comparatively to pet dogs and are remarkable beasts, no doubt about it. But there's some that, for lack of better terms, they just fucking get it. Yeah. And I wish I had a better way to explain it. But they just fucking get it. It's like they're people. Yeah. They're so like remarkably intuitive that it's just like there's this weird fucking thing. Connection or chemistry or whatever the fuck you want to call it that's just impossible to describe, but also impossible to mistake that it exists. And it sounds like that's what he was.
So here's the thing, Mike. Right, to just caveat for him, to me he was the gold standard.
Yeah,
he was the dog. If I could put in the magic clone machine and spit 10,000 of them out,
yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, Yeah, no, I mean, I've had a few of those just because of the volume of dogs that, that I've been through in the last 15 years, but that were that way. It's just like, dude, if I could fucking recreate that dog, it'd be perfect. But from a selection and training standpoint, did you have any, or did you play any role in the selection of Duco? Like, did you get to help test and select, or was it just, here's your next dog?
He was actually our floater, our spare dog.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he was already there. So I had nothing to do with that. So it's kind of no different. Hey, Marco's gone. All right, here's this new dog. So I've got a black Dutchie. All right, we don't really want him, but yeah, we make him work. And next thing you know, it's the best thing ever, because I think hindsight being 2020, it was better getting another dog, because a lot of the mistakes you made with the first one, you don't make with the second one.
Yeah.
So Marco, I was very, again, new handler. This guy's a weapon of war, right? Train, put him up. We don't have fun. It's just, you're here for the fight. Boom, boom, boom. And then one of my handlers goes, hey, dude, he's a dog. You don't have to,
Treat him like an M60.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to go in the arms room all the time. Get him out. So, yeah, and I think that just helped things better, I believe, with Duco.
Yeah.
And plus, just his personality, so.
Sure. Yeah. When you first paired up with him, did you have to go through a handler course, or I'm assuming, did you guys do in-houses, or did you go?
Yeah, we did in-house, but not for him. Him being Duco, we're saying, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. There's your dog.
Yeah.
Because I'd already done the handler course.
Yeah.
I've already got a deployment with the dog.
So you just grabbed
So it's just like, all right, cool.
Yeah. Had he deployed with a handler before that?
No.
No. So he'd been kind of trained up or pre-trained, and then,
Yeah.
So you go right back to Afghanistan with him. And what was the first mission that you went on with him that rings a bell, or that you can remember?
The one that sticks out, really, there's a couple that stick out, but the big one for us in 12, we ended up falling out of a Helo. So we're flying into target one night.
Like falling out?
Oh, yeah, like falling out 30 feet.
Shit.
Oh, yeah, dude.
God damn, 30 feet?
Yeah, that's going to be my recollection. So from going off a 10-meter, from a 10-meter board, at night trying to go, I'm guessing that's about.
How the fuck did that happen?
So funny you should ask, right? So we're coming in. Couldn't really tell, but the ground was sloped. So the 60 comes in, he starts rolling. Says, all right, I guess the brakes didn't work or whatever. Comes to a rear wheel hover. So it looks like a little, 3-4 foot drop, nothing big deal. And for whatever reason, as we're getting ready to exit, you're right at that point. I got Duco on my left side and getting ready to make that bend and that final push out because we're stepping off. And boom.
Oh, shit.
He cranks power. This isn't good.
Yeah.
So end up hitting.
Was it just the two of you that fell out?
Just the two of us.
Fucking Christ.
Yeah.
Was it a hot area?
I don't know what caused them. I can't recollect.
Like landing, were you guys in danger of being fucking overrun? Like, was it a...
I could see where the compound was at.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there was anything. I don't know if the pilot did anything to negate something.
Yeah.
Not from, again, I'm just worried about, hey, let me get out with him.
Yeah.
Didn't, see anything there.
Did you guys get pretty fucked up?
Oh, yeah, dude. Yeah. So to me, I think this is where I kind of explain the situation, then kind of I'll go into, I think, what the after effects have been. So obviously we hit. Nods get knocked off your face. So Duco's handle to his vest is all wrapped in these fingers. So this looks like a big, just twisted pile of crap. But when I come to, the tail rotor is like super close to my head. I'm like, I don't know where the hell this thing is. Let's try to low crawl out of here. And eventually, finally, the bird flushes and, all right, get my nod straight, check my magazine. There's no magazine in there. All right, we got to get a fresh one. And as soon as we go like this hand doesn't want to work. Like, all right, this isn't good. So we'll load it up in the right, just thinking, hey, it's tweaked, it's owied, it's whatever. As we were moving up to that one, I remember there was a couple of like those little exterior cave dig outs, on the side. Of course, they call me up to clear those things. It's not big enough for two guys to get in there, so I really don't have a cover guy, so it's basically me and Duke, and I got to figure out. And Duke seems to be walking fine, right? It's like, yeah, my hand's kind of jacked up and not really know what's going on, but that's all right. I put him on a long line, but I can't use it in a classic sense because I don't have this left arm. So I basically tuck it underneath these arms and kind of just use my arms cone underneath to feed him what I need. And I just basically got my rifle like this because this hand doesn't work. I said, all right. I said, I'm going to get shot in the face because it's just like everything that can go wrong could. That worked out fine. We hit those. And this is where things get interesting. The classic, concussive amnesia. I don't remember actions on. I don't remember what happened. And that's where, you sit there and go, I remember telling Doc, hey, I got to see you when we get back. But I don't remember, did Duke go in? I know we had a couple detainees. Did his muzzle come off? I don't know. So it's
like just a fucking pocket of gray area that you don't.
Yeah, it's totally, yeah. So, I've talked to people about it. It's just that concussive amnesia, right? So it's like your brain got rocked, and it's like why I picked up this little bit, but I don't, of all things, actions on. You should remember, hey man, did I employ him in? Did I at least pull his muzzle off? What was I doing? It's like total blackout drive. Wow. I go see Doc and hey, the hand doesn't work. Say, hey, let's check Duke out because he was with me. He seemed to be, looks good. Let's go get the hand checked out because I initially thought it was broke. And he's like, no, it doesn't seem to be broke. Maybe flip the tendon over because it was just messed up. Nothing was wrong, just all superficial soft tissue stuff. Yeah. Did I say anything about my head? Hell no. Yeah. Why? Because that'll get you out of the fight, right? Sit there and send you home or do whatever.
You were fucked up.
Oh, dude. Yeah. I lied. I lied for the longest time. Yeah. I told people I had unaccounted time. Yeah, what's that mean? That's lying.
That's what you tell your old lady.
Well, yeah, but it's like you're lying, man.
Yeah.
But to me, I think that was the downfall for me, both physically and when I say mentally, to the TBI side, and I hate to use I because it's eyes. Yeah. I think that was the final. That episode was the final one. I think that kicked me over the edge and just started that downhill slide from there.
Yeah. I guess in terms of that injury and how it started that downward spiral, I mean, that was towards the beginning of the first deployment with him. Mm-hmm. And so how was the rest of that deployment?
Man, it was, we had, we got some stuff on that deployment. You wind up doing things you're not trained to do, but you think would be a good idea. All right?
That sounds familiar.
Okay.
That sounds like teenage years.
Yeah, yeah. So we were hitting this one target one night. I remember specifically, count was 10 foreign fighters on target. All right. Of course, we're bringing the dog because that's what we do. Then it's one of those, hey, you need to employ the dog. I said, okay. How many guys are in there? 10 foreign fighters. You don't need the dog. Yeah. Nor did, and this was coming from higher, not from my guys, right? So it's always somebody back in the job going,
shit that has no business telling you what to do.
Hey, put the dog in. No. Yeah. Of course, they were all like, no, we're not putting the dog in. Yeah. Long story short, guys are all bunkered in there. Gunfight ensues. It's all right. Best course of action. Hey, we're going to pull back here a little bit. We're still within the danger close parameter there, but I don't know what told me to remuzzle him, but it's like, let me just go stick his muzzle on. Best choice ever, man. Yeah. Because I think we had either 2 or 4 or 500 pounders.
Holy shit.
Come in. Oh yeah, dude. And fucking went ape shit. Yeah. It's like, oh. I don't know what said muzzle him up, which said, I don't know, but it was like one of those best decisions because I think at any point, would he have been me? I don't know. But it was just one of those that's a lot. I mean, we're getting hammered by that stuff. He's getting hammered by that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's one of those lessons never taught that you just go, let's just do this.
Yeah. So how was the rest of that deployment? I mean, were you able to, for lack of a better term, snap out of it? I mean, or did it just kind of progressively get more degenerative?
We seem to be okay. So about the point, and I never really got, if you want to say, like my hand medically cleared because I knew there were certain things I couldn't do, but it was like, I think it was about 2 weeks that I couldn't do anything. And again, our rotation time had increased a little bit longer over there.
Was it still, so it was a little longer than 3
Yeah,
months?
we were like 4 or 5 months. But like I couldn't place my hand all the way down and really put pressure. So like now, if I needed to leap like over those little stupid mud walls and stuff, it just took a little figuring out because now I've got him and trying to work other stuff. So
What about mental acuity, clarity? Was that?
I'll lie to you and say, oh yeah, it was spot on. It's all spotty, right? So at that point, things start getting spotty. Like you get some high points. And I think this is why it goes back to the other points. Why are some things clear? Why do some things fade off? Why does this stick out and this doesn't? But it just, I kind of put everything back to that. Because up to that point, fairly healthy, things seem to work well. That's like when you start getting the achies and owies, you know. The back hurts more than others. The neck hurts, you know. Yeah. This arm we knew was jacked up.
Did you notice, I guess, if your recollection is fuzzy from getting your bell rung so hard, falling from 30 feet out of a helicopter, was there a point where your teammates were like, hey, bro, you're kind of fucking a little wishy-washy, or were you able to still operate at a level where they didn't?
I had, like I said, short of that night of the incident, everything else seemed to be fine, right?
Okay.
Was I necessarily firing at optimal speed? I think my brain was okay. Physically, we were kind of jacked up.
I mean, good enough to not lose your job.
Yeah.
Which means a really high level at that point. Was Duco okay, or was he still kind of hobbling around?
That's the thing. He showed no signs, right? He looked good. You know, I was looking at his walk. Is his gait okay? Is everything? Nothing. Yeah. Like nothing ever happened. But we'll fast forward, and I believe that incident was also why we had to medically retire him. Because I think it was 16-ish, if I remember right, because I retired in 17. You know, we're out just doing training exercise. And all he's got to do is just jump in the back of a little Ford Ranger pickup truck. Not that high of a jump. And all of a sudden, as he's going, it's like the legs don't want to fire. Like those back legs don't want to go. It's not that he doesn't have the desire. It's not like he doesn't want to go off the decoy. He just can't get up there.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, dude, what's going on? So
he was trying and couldn't?
It's like it's like he was almost like frozen in time.
Yeah, I got you.
You know, the vets looked at him, couldn't see anything. You know, we took x-rays, all that stuff, but there was nothing. Yeah. So now you're going, is that something neurological?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So were you able to deploy with him again after that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And similar?
Well, so 16 was his, I think it was 16, because that was my last deployment. That was his cut year.
That was his what?
I didn't deploy anymore after 16.
Okay.
And I retired in 17.
Yeah. On your last deployment with him, so you did two deployments.
Yeah. So I didn't take him to 16.
Okay.
I left him back.
Yeah.
But it was a shorter type deal.
Okay. Did you take a dog or no?
I did.
Yeah. Which dog was this?
It was a different dog we had. So it was another guy. It was his primary dog.
Oh, okay.
I just took him over.
So he got hurt and you grabbed his dog and went over kind of thing? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had some family stuff he had to deal with. Went out, used the dog, but we never, wasn't any work with, for the dog. It was one of you're there, but kind of standby to standby type.
I mean, even from just being able to do that, obviously, like you've got a fair bit of experience. The dog is seasoned. Mm-hmm. Were you able to grab the leash and get right after it, or was there any challenge to grabbing that dog? Mm-mm. No problem.
No, because just kind of the way we did stuff, the dogs were all in that inner circle, right? Yeah. So at some point, they saw you for feeding, they saw you out training. You were part of that. Yeah. And I mean, I've even worked some different dogs in my primaries, on the battlefield, just because you need to get a dog out. Hey, this is your float. Cool, let's get his legs out just to see, is he worth something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious from a training standpoint, bite work wise, just out of my own curiosity, I guess, did you guys do a lot of the decoy work, or did you have a couple guys that were really good at it that did most of it? So I know, like, from an initiation standpoint, a lot of times, like, put the new guy in the suit and fucking send him down the hallway, which I kind of disagree with.
That's dumb, right? So we had people that did it, but we also kind of did it ourselves.
Yeah.
So we had, like we brought Franco Angelini in, you know, so get somebody that's a decoy, give you a class on it. Because again, that to me, when you look at the dog training world, is probably one of the most missed opportunities, right? So cool, you're in the suit, the dog bites you.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be training that dog. All right, cool. What am I looking for? Am I helping him? Am I doing bite development? Or is he just,
Yeah.
And that's where I just think that's, you know, or, you know, people that do the send-aways, right? Oh, go run, we're gonna send the dog on you. Dumb,
Yeah.
dumb.
But
My
yeah,
opinion.
I agree. I think spot on. I mean, it's probably the most underrated skill set in dog training from a police or military working dog standpoint, and that, you know, I would liken it to a really high level striking coach, you know, for MMA. Is that it's like saying, you know, here's a couple of hand pads. You've never boxed a day in your life. Now we're gonna, you know, stand here and let this professional boxer work your pads. Like it's that dumb to have somebody that doesn't know what they're doing.
Yep.
But yet that's what you see. It's like, you know, well, I don't want to get in the fucking suit, you know, or they just put some guy that volunteers that wants to be on the dog team or whatever, and similarly doesn't know anything.
But here's where I think you can make a transition, since we're kind of talking bite, you know, and training stuff. To me, on the flip side, the muzzle is the most underutilized tool there. You know, I think that we did a lot of muzzle stuff.
In terms of aggression work with a muzzle?
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's one area where I'm going to, as respectfully as possible, I guess, disagree. But,
Okay.
you know, my thoughts on muzzles is for sure outside the norm, I think, with a lot of units. But it, you know, not that I want to get too far in the weeds from a dog training standpoint, but, you know, I guess the way I look at it is that, you know, the muzzle to me is a piece of equipment the same way anything else is. And there's going to be a contextual association that dog is going to attach to that the same way there is a suit or a sleeve or a whip or anything else. The problem that I have with it is that from a genetic standpoint, I don't think that you're really teaching the dog a whole lot from a technique standpoint, because they're not biting, they're not aggressing the way that they're going to do for real or the way that they would on a suit. And so, again, it's just my beliefs is that if it's genetically the correct dog, I don't feel that a muzzle is going to help that dog fight at all. Okay. On the transverse, I think if genetically it's not the right dog, that muzzle isn't going to turn him into the dog that's going to fucking nuke somebody that previously won't. And so,
but I think to what you're saying, I think you can get it. You can pull more data from the latter, because, like, if I don't hear him clacking his teeth in there, right? If he's just trying to nudge and not really showing that aggression, I think that can give you some signs potentially. But like the beauty with the muzzle is it opens up to me more parameters that you can do work.
yeah.
So if I want to sit there and put a bunch of role players in here,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, for sure on that end, I agree with you 100%. I guess where I see it used, or in my opinion misused, is this isn't the right dog, right? It's genetically, it's too soft, it's too weak, it doesn't have any true natural forward aggression. And so we're going to try to use a muzzle to get him not equipment fixated. And to me, like, that's a mistake.
yeah,
But,
you know, you should already have that. I mean, it's a tool to enhance
yeah.
100%. You know, if you're sitting there trying to put a Band-Aid over a sucking chest wound, then
Yeah, I guess, yeah, I mean, that's just where I see it, you know, in doing seminars or workshops or whatever. It's like, you know, hey, we do a ton of muzzle work, and it's all, you know, aggression-based stuff, when, you know, if you really evaluate the dog, like, hey, this isn't the right dog, and the muzzle isn't going to make him a right dog, you know. But anyway, that's a good distinction for sure. I guess also from a training standpoint, were there training scenarios that you guys did that you were kind of pushing the envelope, things that you hadn't done before that you developed, you know, while you were there as a handler, capability-wise? Like things that hadn't been done before that you guys kind of figured out or started doing?
probably the MFF piece was, you know.
Yeah. Did you do much jumping with a dog?
So here's the thing, it's not smart to jump the dog, right? So I think that's the big, you know, misconceptions. All right, cool, you got to jump your dog. Well, what proficiency is he getting as a passenger?
Yeah, zero.
Do I have to be, you know, it's like a guy you're going to tandem.
Yeah.
Do you have to have jumped before? Nope. Just hold on for the ride and go.
Yeah, I think, do it once to make sure that he's done it and can handle it, and beyond
That's it.
that, yeah.
That's it. Go for the ride. And, but I think that's probably, you looking at, and again, don't think I was the MFF master or whatever, but I would say when you look at dog stuff across the board, I'd say that's probably the biggest thing that I saw, if you want to say capability wise, is how do we bring this guy to the next level? Yeah. And I think that's it.
Yeah. From a, I guess, retirement standpoint, what did that process look like in terms of, you didn't take him on that last deployment. Was he retired at that point already? And
I didn't take him because I did not want to put the guys at risk.
Yeah.
I knew I didn't have, a fully functioning dog like I wanted to. So it's like, hey, we'll just leave you, take this other one. So that was my call. Could I have? I could have.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to. It's kind of like the guy that has, the jacked up leg. Mm-hmm. Can he still move with everybody? Yeah. But if I ask you, hey, dude, we got to go boogie.
Yeah, full tilt.
Is he going to go?
Yeah.
So I don't want to do that. That was one of my things. I just.
Yeah. How old was he at that point?
Was he 8? Let me think here. Yeah, he was 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you retire him then once you got back? Because did it get to the point where it's like, well, if I can't take him, what's the fuck?
Yeah, and it's one of those that it just doesn't drop like that, right? So there's a little bit of work that goes in there. But yeah, at that point, it was like, yeah, dude, I just didn't want to risk that. And it's like, let's go ahead and start the paperwork to get you retired.
Yeah. Before the retirement, were you taking him home? Was he around your family and kids?
So we don't, the dog stayed at the kennels. Yeah. He had been at the house before. He was there in 12 for his gastropexy, because whenever there's medical, he's got something medical that needs that constant supervision, then we can take him. But
what are your thoughts on that? I know, police department, military-wise, like it's, fuck, everybody does it different. Do you think that's good, bad? I get it, in that.
I think it's a twofold deal. Can you bring every dog home? Nope.
Yeah.
Is every handler the guy to bring that dog home? Nope. Yeah. So I think you have to look at the team.
Yeah.
And really that team concept is, all right, is this a brand new handler with, let's say you bring somebody like Marco home, is he going to try to test you there? Is he going to try to test the kids? I don't know.
Yeah. That, and I think, even when the circumstances are appropriate, the wild card is everybody else, is that it could be something as simple as you're taking him out to load him up to go to work, and the neighbor kid runs over and tackles him and gets nuked or whatever, and it's just.
Or just something stupid where, how about this? Maybe he's sitting there, one of the kids aren't paying attention, steps on the leg, now he jacks his leg up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now I got a dog that can't work. Or.
Yeah, unquestionably, it's the right call to spend as much time with him as possible, bond-wise. But yeah, there's so many other pieces there. I can tell you this foundation right here. Sure. Most of the dogs we have are because of dumb shit like that. The kids did something, or the dog bit the neighbor and their dog, or whatever.
But see, I think a lot of that can be. Think about it. I was even when Duco retired, right? Even the times I brought him home, you're very observant. So what's the difference between the battlefield and everywhere else? Because right? Everyone goes, oh, you're hypervigilant, you're this. No, I'm just aware of my surroundings.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. I'm not saying that, against the policy of being able to take the dog home to justify that. I'm just saying, most of the dogs we get are because of mistakes that were made, either mishandling them or from a training standpoint, creating inadvertent behaviors that are undesirable without realizing it, type stuff. But
I would have loved to take him home. I wish I could have,
yeah.
On a constant basis.
Yeah. So once you did retire him, you retired, about a year after that?
Yeah.
Yeah. How have you felt since retiring, as a man, as a father, as a 29-year combat vet? What's been that mental journey like for you since retiring?
The mental journey's been interesting per se, because you got to rewind the tapes. I think it was that end of 16, 17. I was an inpatient at the VA for 6 weeks.
Oh, wow.
My brain was smoked. Guys I'd known 10 plus years. I'd be like, So you're no longer Mike. You're, hey, bud. Hey, buddy. Hey, pal.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, because I can't remember your name.
Wow.
Where'd I park my truck? I have no idea. So now you're kind of wandering to your local, used to like to park here, maybe over there because there's a shade tree.
God damn.
Oh, yeah, dude. It was.
But you were conscious enough of that it was happening to realize that it was happening.
I knew I needed some help, right? I didn't know exactly what was going on. And then I didn't realize, it's like always late to the punch, right? I didn't go to the physical therapist till I got one arm that doesn't pull and one arm that doesn't push. Hey, we need to fix this. Then Pandora's box starts opening up. And then you find like, hey, man, I can't remember things.
Yeah.
So finally do that. And then you find out, why was my shooting and my CQB skills dropping off? Because now I've got an eye convergence issue because this one's slower than the other one. So now when I'm looking here, trying to converge there on some sights, it's not happening.
Yeah.
And you're just like, good Lord, man. But
Did you have MRIs and CAT scans and shit done to see damage to your brain? Have you had any of the therapies like the magnet stuff or any?
I haven't. Yeah. And here's the thing. They did a very good job with me, right? So that program, patched me up.
What did they do?
So really it was, I put a lot of it on the speech therapist. And you're going to go, what's wrong with your speech? It's the person that does the cognitive rehab. Why they call them speech therapists, I don't know. Yeah. But NICO, so the Intrepid Spirit guys, they got the same thing. So I end up being, like I said, an outpatient or inpatient for the VA for 6 weeks. Then I have to come back to Fort Bragg. And now I'm dealing with, Intrepid Spirit doing follow-on with the speech therapist. But I think that's where the money's made, So it's getting those neural pathways built back in your brain. Yeah. What are we doing for mental exercises? How are we incorporating mental exercises, physical activities? How are you putting all of these things together? Looking at really what are you eating? What are you, are you getting your omegas? Are you doing everything to enhance your brain? I think it's recoverable. I think everyone's going to be different, but there's got to be some strategies. Why do I sit there and brush my teeth with my left hand sometimes? Just to try to get neural pathways going. Just changing things up.
Why do you write with your toes? Just because?
I'm not there. I wish I could. I would be in the circus,
So I guess, so you kind of get through all that, you get retired, and then I guess I'm curious, from 2017 and now looking back on your career and as getting out, I know with a lot of guys, spending especially that amount of time doing, such high-level special operations stuff, you get used to that being the way of life, and while for the rest of your life it's impossible to separate yourself from that to a certain extent, I find, I've had a lot of guests on that there's an element of almost kind of losing your identity because you're so attached to being that, and now.
But, yeah.
Did you experience any of that?
No, because that wasn't my identity.
Yeah.
My identity is Rick Hogg.
Yeah.
My identity is Warhog Tactical.
Yeah.
It was, and I think that's the key part for guys when they're getting out. And I would try to tell everybody, go be an entrepreneur. Yeah. I think there's nothing better.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I
worked for the man for 29 years.
Yeah.
I am the man.
I'm the man. Yeah.
Well, kind of my wife's the man, but you know what I'm saying. Is it struggles? Is it hard? Yeah. But I think that's the thing. That's the thing that keeps us going, right? Yeah. If life was easy, sure.
It's boring.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've talked about this on a number of episodes. I mean, some of the most successful and wealthy people that I've ever met are also some of the most miserable people I've ever met because they lose that purpose. Even if they have a ton of money doing things that the only reason they're doing them is because it makes them a lot of money, not because they're passionate about it. They're fucking miserable. You know, on the same token, there's people that are broke as shit, but they love what they do and they're happy as fuck.
Exactly.
And so, and I agree. I'm right there with you in that, like, I never had any of those, like, fuck, what am I doing now? There were times where, and especially because I did 12 and a half years, I got out at the end of 2008, so there was a good chunk of active time, but I still, like, years and years after being out, like, there's guys that I was in with that are still in, and some of them are fighting and dying, and there was an element that was tough to kind of reconcile that a little bit, but not enough to where I was depressed or fucking miserable or suicidal about it. And I just jumping right into being an entrepreneur, especially, and I think you're probably similar that way too, especially when it's doing something that's related. It's like when I'm working with high-level dogs, still with military groups or police departments or whatever, still doing some shit that's really cool. like I never missed a beat really that way. Like I never sat around and was like, oh, fuck, I'm miserable and now I'm doing this shitty office job or, like it. I just never had that. It sounds like it's kind of the same.
It's similar, but I've got to do one clarification. So the dog world's, trust me, the dog world's dog eat world, dog eat dog, right?
Yeah.
But the firearms industry is worse because everyone's going to think because you did 29 years in the Army, oh, you're naturally going to go into it.
Yeah.
No. 2002, this thing was fired up.
Yeah.
That's the part. That's the message I need to convey to guys, right? Yeah. I do this because I love what I'm doing. I don't ever want to get another phone call, email, text to go, hey man, that stuff you taught me saved my life. I don't. I'll teach you the skill set. I want you to have the skill set. God forbid you're in that gunfight. You smash them like nobody's business. But I'd prefer they don't, but I want you to at least have the skill. Because if you got the skill, you're going to come home.
So you started in 2002. Was there any conflict of interest bullshit that you had?
I wasn't. So the only thing I was doing then was just teaching North Carolina concealed carry, mainly to my guys.
Yeah.
Right? So in essence, here's what you were getting. You're doing in the training program. Hey, does anyone want their North Carolina concealed carry stuff? Yeah. Cool. I've already taught you all the marksmanship stuff. Let's go over the legal stuff on the weekend. Okay, there you go, guys. I was just trying to take care of my guys. That was it. Yeah. And we didn't really start, if you want to say, running formal classes till once I was retired.
Yeah. And so what are the classes that you offer now?
So we're doing, firearm training as far as pistol carbine. We do civilian, law enforcement, and military.
Yeah. And
then we're kind of all over the country. So one unique thing on that is, yes, we do open enrollment, but people can also reach out via warhog.com and say, hey, man, want to set something up or go from there.
Is there a distinction in terms of law enforcement, military that you're not going to teach civilian? Like, do you throttle it back or all?
Here's the thing. Marksmanship's marksmanship, right? You're still learning a fundamental skill.
Yeah.
The thing is how much time, effort you're willing to put into it. Typically, if you figure the max is 2 days that I'm going to have with a civilian, so if you think back to your training, what are you really getting in 2 days?
Yeah.
Where, all right, hey, if a department or agency brings me in, a week, 2 weeks, you're going to get more and build that. Yeah. But there's no...
But it's not, you're not doing tactics really anyway. It's just,
No. Okay. No, anything, and again, your TTP stuff is, even with your LE guys, you got to, it's a careful road you got to travel.
Yeah. All right, so you spent some time in Afghanistan with what's going on right now. I do want to dive into that and get your opinion on everything, really, the politics, the way it's handled, you name it. What is your take on what's going on right now?
Here's the thing. For me, it's embarrassing, right? And I've had a bunch of people reach out. Hey, man, you okay? You this? I am, because it's not... What's transpiring, I got nothing to do with. I did not control that. Again, I am of the era, still remember, I don't want to say I'm the Vietnam generation, but we still lived during that time when there was Vietnam vets. I remember seeing the pictures of the Chinooks in Saigon in '75, and then subsequently them pushing it off, side of the aircraft carriers. So now I'm watching, Chinooks going to our embassy in Kabul, and now I'm watching enemy with our guns. C-17s chock packed with, I didn't know you can stick 800 people in them, but, just absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, how did all this transpire? How we knew, we've been saying we're leaving forever and a day. Yeah. And this is the way we leave. Mm-hmm. And it's embarrassing from, that standpoint, that why wasn't there a plan in place to execute that properly? How much stuff do we lose? How much stuff,
Yeah.
That's my qualm.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, watching it is it's infuriating on a number of levels. To me, it similarly, like people have reached out and asked what I think, or if I'm doing okay or whatever. And similar, it's like, one, I was in Iraq. I never went to Afghanistan. Not that it matters, in the grand scheme of things, I guess, but it does. I think it's an important distinction to make. Like or I guess I should say, when I saw the same thing happening in Iraq, like to compare the two, I feel the same about both of them. Having been in one and not in the other, I don't feel more pissed off the way that it happened in Iraq than I did in Afghanistan because I wasn't there. But at any rate, to me, the easily the most frustrating part of it is just that it didn't have to be that way. Mm-hmm. Is that it's pretty easy to see, even if you have no fucking tactical or military background, operational background whatsoever, that you could say, okay, shouldn't the people that have the ability to keep and maintain order, shouldn't that be the last piece that you pull out? Like, yes, it should. And to say that, we planned on this and we didn't do that way, and that was all the plan. Like, either you're that stupid or you think we're that stupid. Both of them are equally unacceptable. And it just, I wish that just one fucking time, one politician would stand up there and be like, you know what, I fucked up. Mm-hmm. I fucked up huge. I made a big mistake. This is 100% on me, and I'm going to fix it. Yeah. And that's it. And not, I fucked up, but the reason I fucked up is because the guy before me, or because my people didn't tell me the right shit, or well, they never told me that. It's like, can't you just say, yeah, I fucked this one up? Like,
wasn't my fault, Mike.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, man.
And I know, like, the communities that we come from, like, that is the backbone
yeah.
of a team, and as a president, like, you're the fucking coach of the entire goddamn country's team, and like of all positions, that one is the most important to legitimately take accountability and ownership for your mistakes, and it just doesn't happen.
No.
To me, the irony of it is that, the collective entire fucking country would have so much more respect for that guy, and even people that hate you will have no choice but to respect it, because you can't fault a guy for saying, I fucked that up and I'm going to do better.
Yep.
Because how do you critique that? It's like, yeah, you did fuck up. And you're like, yeah, I did fuck up. Mm-hmm. Like, there's nowhere to have to tap dance away from that, So it's like, even your harshest critics can't give you shit for saying, yeah, I totally dicked that up.
Yep.
Like, how do people at that level not get that?
That's the question of the hour, right? It's on so many different points.
Yeah.
But it's like, who are you getting your counsel from?
Yeah.
So part of it is sitting there going, yes, I take responsibility. But you got to ask yourself, did you even ask anybody, hey, what's the best course of action? Yeah. Or did you just sit there and go, pull the plug, let's go?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And to me, at that level too, you take, we'll take Joe Biden because he's the guy, 40 years as a senator. Right? 8 years as a vice president. Okay, so you've got 48 fucking years. You've got more experience than I've been alive at the highest goddamn levels of government, and you fucked this up about as bad as you can fuck it up.
Yeah.
So to me, like, there isn't I'm going to learn from this. Like, motherfucker, if you don't know how to handle that now with everything you've been through, you need to just get the fuck out of the way. Mm-hmm. I mean, there really is no other course of action that I see. I am encouraged to at least see even the most staunchest mainstream media allies of his grilling him, which I'm actually surprised, pleasantly surprised, but surprised that they're taking him to task the way that they are. Just before we sat down on the way here, I was listening to a press conference that he had where he took a couple questions, and one of them was, what is your response to the international critiques? The Chancellor of Germany, the fucking British Prime Minister. I mean, there's been a number of heavy hitter NATO allies of ours that have basically said, dude, you really fucked this up, And his response was, we're not getting any of that criticism. It's the opposite. It's just like, holy fuck. Like, I mean, it's the emperor's clothes thing. It's like just such a fucking disconnect and a skewed perception of reality that there's just no hope for it, I just hope that as short-sighted and short-memoried as America has become, that they don't forget that, and that there's some accountability. That I'm not that hopeful for, though.
No, I wish I was in the same boat. But I go back, let's think about it, 75. 75 is when we pulled out of Saigon.
Yeah.
It's still within a generational window. We've forgotten that.
Yeah. Well, and the bitch of it is there's people in our government that were around for that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, it's fucking mind-numbing. And to me, I mean, we could pick apart every kind of ground-level decision or mistake that was made. I mean, fuck, we'd need to sit here for hours to pick apart every one of those. I mean, the biggest thing is just you can't say that you planned for something and have to send people back. Like, then you didn't plan for it, Yeah. Oh, yeah, we planned for what's happening. You couldn't have, or they would have been there already.
Yep.
You know, like the fact that Kandahar and Bagram were shut down, it's just like, man, what the fuck? I am curious, I mean, from your standpoint, do you see any hope for the country as it relates to politics and kind of where we're at? What's your stance on that?
As far as us or Afghanistan?
I mean, I know Afghanistan's, you know, not a lost cause, but I mean, it basically is. I mean, I don't see it recovering.
I mean, here's the problem with us, right? We've got some serious fixing we have to do as a country. We're very much separated, divided, and there's all this friction that needs to just go away.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, our politicians fail us repeatedly. With everything going on, we've got governors basically putting in executive orders that supersede legislation. So there's everything going wrong, and then there's such a divide. Here's the bottom line. We are all Americans. That's our title, American. Nothing before, nothing after, American. If we use that, and Teddy Roosevelt kind of brought it up, that keeps us as one. And then the same token, we got these politicians, which how you get in there, 48 years. 48 years. Shockingly, the Army told me, hey, you got to leave.
Yeah.
Your time's up.
Yeah.
Okay? Can we not put some things in place?
Yeah.
To go, hey, man, you've been here long enough.
Yeah. You fucked it up enough times.
What else you going to do?
Yeah.
Or I should say not do.
Yeah.
But there's some definite things we have to do as a country.
Yeah.
But it starts really at the very lowest essence. It starts with that family nucleus.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the country has its own set of problems that, you know, I think they have to start at home, because without that, I mean, that is the foundation that sets the tone for everything else. And if you grow up with no respect for anything, it's going to be almost impossible to teach that later, you know, and you see it. I am curious, I mean, from having been in Afghanistan and put in time and lost friends and what have you, do you think, like, I guess, let's say you're President Rick starting tomorrow, what do you do?
As far as Afghanistan goes, I mean, I don't know currently notating what state is it in. Is everything debacleized? Do we have all our people? I don't know. Let's do simple things, right? Men, weapon, equipment. Do we have anything? I know we don't have all of our equipment. Do we have all of our guys? I don't know. But I would want to sit there and go, first of all, do I have all my people? And then you got to think, all those people that helped us, you just left them there. Are you going to recover that? Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not. But I got my, you know, my responsibility goes to my people.
Yeah.
You know, and there's nothing, you know, past that point. Like I said, like I just don't know the.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's a shit show. There's no way for them to know even how many Americans are there, you know, and to me, like, that's a huge fumble in the State Department.
Yep.
So if you don't know how many are there, you're not going to know when they're all out.
Exactly.
You know, so that's problem number one, is you're never going to know if you got everybody.
Mm-hmm.
As it relates to the translators, the interpreters, the contractors even that helped, you know, build shitters and fucking, you know, food service and whatever, like, they're all going to be targeted. The question is similarly, is like, how do you vet those people? How do you prove that they are who they say they were? How do you prove that they were actually the contractor that did X, Y, and Z? Like, there's no way to prove that. They have angry mobs of people that are in a panic-stricken state, you know, that are willing to hang on to an airplane as it's taking off to try to get away from there. Like, that is an impossible scenario to sift through while that's going on to determine who is who. So now you open up the door of the same thing with the mass refugee flooding of Europe back at the height of the ISIS fucking problem, where now you've got who knows who coming over here with what intentions and just flooding it.
Yep.
And I will also say this, is that, you know, Biden came out a couple days ago and gave a COVID press conference, right? Which, you know, again, to me shows the disconnect, but it also says this, is that if you still think that is that important and that dangerous to this country, why are you letting all these people that you don't know if they've been tested, they're not wearing masks, you don't know if they've been vaccinated? Like, if you think it's that big of a deal to not talk about Afghanistan and give a no questions press conference on this, Why would you let tens of thousands of people that you have no idea what their COVID history is? Like, because I don't give a fuck, but I know you give enough of a fuck to shut the country down. So how do you explain that?
And how did the whole China virus get here to start?
Yeah.
Airplane.
Yeah.
You know, so who knows what else? But I'm with you. Everything. It's just hypocritical.
Yeah.
You want to sit there and smash this on one side, but allow this on the other side.
Yeah. Same thing with the border. It's like you're letting people come across it and releasing them into the public that are COVID positive, but yet you're going to shut a restaurant down for not wearing masks. It's like, who is fucking okay with that? Like, why are we as a country not doing more to say fuck you? I mean, I know I do. Like, I don't. Like if people are like, oh, you need a mask. Well, I'll fucking go somewhere else then. Like, I don't understand the.
But I'm going to say this on the mask, right? And I can't speak for Texas. I will in the state of North Carolina. State of North Carolina, it's illegal to wear face covering in public. We have legislation on the books. And this is what I was getting at earlier. So the governor supersedes or thinks he's going to supersede legislation with executive order. It doesn't work. Yeah. But people let him go that.
Yeah.
Hey, governor, if you think that highly of it, go back and change the law.
Yeah.
Have they changed it? Nope.
Yeah.
So technically it's still illegal.
Yeah. No, I know. There's a lot
just kind of my quick soapbox.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's an enormous amount of trampling of rights that people are just allowing, and to me, the worst part of all that is that once you allow that to happen, you're not going to get that back, I mean, that's the slippery slope that turns into tyrannical dictatorships is that, once politicians have power, they're not going to give it back up, I mean, how many times have we seen that in all the places that we've been? And that's the thing. It's like people don't realize that. They're like, oh, it's just this. It's not that big a deal. Yes, it is. Mm-hmm. Like on a principled level, it's a huge fucking deal because if they can do it with that, they can do it with anything.
Yep.
And if you think they won't, fucking look around.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's places all over the world that shit happens as we speak where, people are losing their lives and being just fucking railroaded, and can't do shit about it. But,
mm-hmm.
We could spend forever and a day talking about it. Moving forward, what is your kind of next thing, or what do you want to do with the rest of your life?
Wow,
what do you want to be when you grow up?
I want to be a rock star. No, so it's twofold deal. Obviously losing Duco back in July. Keep his memory alive. Bunch of people supporting that. We've got a UK company, Explosive Design Apparel. So you're familiar with the Blackbeard?
Yeah.
So they're doing the Blackbeard and Friend
nice.
Duco series. So now Blackbeard has a dog on a leash.
That's awesome.
So they're doing, hoodies, T-shirts, hats, patches in honor of him. And what they have done is where they are a UK company. So they've got the Union Jack and the U.S. flag. But on the U.S. flag, they put Duco in the center of it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, yeah. I've got Teutonic Distillery. We talked about, I think I chatted with you, you saw that on social, but they're doing the double barrel maple bourbon in honor of Duco. So it's got to get to see me in his mug on there.
Yeah.
There's a memorial workout that Shannon did for Duco, so there's all these things moving forward. And then we're getting ready to hopefully launch our canine product line by the end of the month.
Yeah.
Things we got to go redo our remade labels to put in honor of Duco because, again, you do that, we want to keep the story going. So that's first and foremost.
Yeah.
And then, just keep Warthog Tactical up and moving and playing with the times.
From a Warthog Tactical, whether it's actual and even the Duco line stuff, like what all products do you guys have on offer other than the courses?
So the courses, then we just got like our regular swag stuff. We've got DVDs from Panteo Productions, so we've actually done some professional instructional videos.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so we got those.
Can you stream those too, or you have to order?
You can stream them, but you have to don't go to warhog.com, go to Panteo.com.
Okay.
Yeah. But you can go to warhog.com and get to Panteo.
Okay.
Shameless plugs.
Yeah. No, I mean, not shameless at all. I mean, to me, that's, I want people to know how to get a hold of your services and all that. On the Duco line, any products, or is it just more swag stuff?
No, so it's swag. So it's other people's swag right now. Our hard, if you want to say product line, we're starting because, again, with the whole China virus thing, we got pushed behind. The leash will be easy to get out there. So hopefully, like I said, we'll get that out by the end of the month. Yeah. But again, it's being manufactured here in the U.S.
Yeah.
Actually, in North Carolina, but I will not manufacture overseas.
Yeah. It's
Principles on some things.
I know it. That's good shit. Same here. I've got a few products, leash collar wise, that actually Ray Allen make them. You can get them right from their site too. But no, it's great shit. Anything else? Any alibis? Anything you want to add to it before we wrap up?
No, just appreciate you having me on. I think this is the thing I'll tell all the veterans out there. If you are looking to transition or you're in that transitional window, start sooner rather than later, right? So for example, I'd say, hey, 2-3 year mark, start figuring out, because a lot of guys get close and don't know what they want to do. Start having that plan. Don't let the military be your identity. You are your identity. And really, warhog.com is the place to go. So if you want to find me on social, you want to find out what's up, you want to find out more about Duco, articles written on him, little videos and stuff, and telling his whole story of the osteosarcoma and everything we went through. Yeah. That's the one-stop shop. And we continue to build as we go. So don't go there today, look at Duco stuff, and cause trust me, maybe by next week or the week after, there'll be something new. Or And he does have his own Instagram too, but you can get all that via. Yeah.
We'll put links and tabs and shit, and everything in the description. It was osteosarcoma.
Osteosarcoma, right rear leg.
In the rear leg?
Right rear leg.
Right rear leg, yeah. I had one of my personal dog females got that. This was about 2015-ish. It started in her left shoulder, but similarly, it was about 6 months, and just heartbreaking and hard to believe how fast it spreads. Like once it's there.
Once it hit the point. So like in Duco's case, we got his leg amputated in November. Everything was good. So I thought he'd jacked up his left rear leg because he had a little gimp on there. And then next, take him in. We took chest x-rays, the spots were back, but his blood work wasn't crazy. I took him back a week later. Blood work was out of control. Cells were all breaking down. And she's like, there's nothing we could have done before. Yeah. And, that's just the gut punch where you have this dog that's an extension of you. And a lot of people don't get that. This guy has saved my life. And I've got to sit there and go,
sorry, buddy.
So.
Could you share, is there a favorite memory of him?
Golly. Favorite memory? Probably when I first brought him home, when you have family members that don't realize what you have for a dog, we buy Mama a brand new coffee table. And I think it was her that caused it. So she kind of put her hand up like this, like, hey, let me show you something. And of course he saw that and, oh, she's got the ball, and starts to jump going over to the coffee table and kind of gets the no and kind of stops mid, and just nails go across that thing. And it's like, she's like, oh. That dog would sit there and pull on a bumper string for hours. That the one, kind of big memory you have, we did a filming with 511. I've got him actually retrieving a fully weighted M4, rifle.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, there's all kinds of things. Yeah. But then just to watch that dog, just chill out the house and just live the good retired life, man. Yeah. So, yeah. So many memories. It's hard to pick just one.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, well, his memory lives on, no two ways about it. I think it's both special and really neat to see the dedication that you have and continue to have for him and for dogs in general. Everything that you're doing with Warhog and his Instagram page and just everything is fucking awesome. Can't thank you enough for your service. You've gotten your hands dirty for Uncle Sam for a long fucking time, and on behalf of myself and the country, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah. Can't thank you enough for taking the time to come here and share your amazing story. I know it's, again, busy and expensive and a pain in the ass to fly and all that, so I appreciate you doing that. It means the world to me and to the viewer. So thank you for making the time.
Yeah. Thank you for reaching out, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. On Instagram, what's your handle on Instagram?
Warhog Tactical. So everything's Warhog Tactical, but just go to warhog.com. Yeah. That'll get you, you got the big bar that gets you everything else.
Okay. Yeah. Amen. All right.
I'd like to take a quick second to shout out and thank our sponsor for today's podcast, Origin Labs and Duco Fuel. Duco Fuel is a great product. He's got a ton of products actually within the Duco Fuel line. The guests and I enjoy them on the show. And outside, I take a lot of the supplements. I've got some of the Origin Lab jeans, boots, gis, and it's just all around American industry. They do a fantastic job really re-revolutionizing American industry from start to finish. It's all American made, all American sourced. Everything start to finish is made right there in-house, and they really do a phenomenal job creating the products and fulfilling the whole ball of wax. They've been a huge supporter of the Mic Drop podcast for a while now, and I really can't thank Duco Fuel and Origin Labs enough for the job that they do for us. And so thank you to you guys. I'd also like to talk about my brand of dog food that just came out. There's food, treats, a line of supplements. The supplements are hip and joint, digestive, skin and coat. The treats, there's salmon bites, beef bites, turkey bites, salmon skins. And then the food, we've got a chicken and sweet potato formula as well as a salmon and herring meal formula. All of these products I've come out with in the last 6 months after years of trying to find kind of the right blend and be uncompromising in the product quality of what I want, and was fortunate enough to work with a manufacturer that made everything exactly how I wanted it, tested it out and got it dialed into exactly how I want it, and now we've brought it to market and it's available to you guys. So MikeRitlandCo.com, it's the Fueled by Team Dog line of food, treats, and supplements. I encourage you to either check it out or choke yourself. For you guys, the viewer, go choke yourself, because you got to throw that in at least once per episode. Really and truly, I can't thank you guys enough for the support, episode after episode, keeping us in business, so to speak, and allowing us to bring you amazing men such as Rick to share his story and expose you guys to real live American heroes. So thank you as always for tuning in, and until next time, this is Mic Drop.